Damn fleck
Hey, good
tester out.
evening, everybody, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the Season 58 All-Star Race Weekend, the Open and the All-Star Race Super Speedway style, as we're under the lights here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. If you followed the Talladega Challenge this past season, you're very familiar with this racetrack, was in very pivotal points of the schedule, including the season finale where a champion was crowned, and here tonight, we're going to find out who's going to be walking away with an All-Star Race trophy. But 26 drivers currently locked into the All-Star Race, and we're going to add another 5 to them with the Open Race here tonight, 29 laps of racing. I'm Seth Cole alongside of Michael Norman, and Michael here this evening, no points on the line, no championship on the line, just an opportunity to be able to get into that main event All-Star Race. So we talk about aggression during a regular season in a series. I think that aggression is going to be ramped up to an all-time high here in this one.
Yeah, it definitely will be. On top of that, but it's I believe what is it set the top five that advance into it. You said going for 5 cars here, so it's going to be a fight to get into that top five, those top five positions there, and it should definitely be a good one.
And of those 26 drivers we'll see in the field already locked into the All-Star Race, one of them up here joining us in the booth here tonight, Donnie Garrett. And Donnie, you brought up a very good question here before we even came on the air about the fact that we know that these drivers are going to have to make one pit stop during the course of this race. They can't make it the full 29-lap distance on what they've got in the tank rolling off the grid. It's a question of when do you make that pit stop?
Well, I tell you, it's going to dictate the cautions, and if we have an early caution, they might want to come in top off, or some of these guys might want to get together and go in. Once you get into that window of about 19 laps to go, they may want to go ahead and get it over with, get 3 or 4 of them in there together, and get that pit stop, get it done, get back on the track, and caution comes out from there. They're going to be the leaders if no one else pits.
I'm going to start with you on this one, Donnie, because I was thinking about this race in relation to Monday night when we covered the Speedway style All-Star Open with, again, 5 drivers transferring in. And while there's definitely pressure on that 5th place driver in a Speedway style race, I can only imagine the kind of pressure that's going to be on a driver that's running P5 here on the final lap, because we could see 3-4 drivers swap that final 5th transfer position from turn 4 all the way down here to the start-finish line.
I tell you what, it's a throwaway race. It's a throwaway vehicle, and you could literally win this race upside down on fire, and be the first one back to the start finish line, and actually win this thing upside down. But it's going to be wild. There's no points. This is all for the money and the trophy, and this is going to be all out. It's going to be all out war out here tonight, and these guys ain't going to take no prisoner. I look for it to get pretty wild.
Absolutely. It's funny. I'm still owed a trophy from winning a certain race, but we're not going to get into that.
Now, one thing I was kind of noticing as well is same deal as we had in the Speedway style All-Star race earlier on this week. It is a one incident and park here in both the Open and in the All-Star race. So while you want to be aggressive, get up there to the front or at least into a transfer spot, you got to make sure you don't make a mistake, because you certainly can't win the race on the first lap, but you could take yourself out of the opportunity of even competing in the main event later on tonight.
Oh yeah, for me, I'd be riding. I wouldn't be trying to make any crazy moves at the beginning. Just ride and wait for the pit stops, let this shake out, and figure out where you're at, and then go race from there.
Like we got a total of, what's this, 7 on the outside and 8 on the inside, so 15 trucks for 5 positions, which means that 10 drivers will be missing out in the main event. And some heavy hitters here in this All-Star Open. Kind of surprised that some of these drivers are having to try to race their way into the All-Star race. JT Mayhew, we saw him in the All-Star race for the Speedway style, but he's yet to find victory lane at Super Speedway there. Ken Roberts going to be the pole sitter here for this Open. Wiley Coate, a lot of good Super Speedway racers. Got a couple of our broadcast colleagues down there in the field there as well. Shelton in the 20 and Matt McIntyre in the 738.
We also, I don't mean to cut in here, we also got word that a couple of drivers are going to be kind of volunteering themselves to go to the back.
You got Jessica Shelton in this thing too. I tell you what, she's an incredible Super Speedway racer, and I look for her to make some noise.
Jason Scheck going to be on the outside of this front row. Dave Melson there in the 38. Bob Dixon in the 143. Interesting when you think about Bob Dixon and Tom Dixon here in the field, because more often than not, we see in the Tally Challenge, they kind of have their own strategy when it comes to green flag pit stops. But What do you think, Donnie? Can you get away with just 2 or 3 cars coming to pit road during a cycle of green flag pit stops and still remain up inside the top 5? Or are you going to have about 50% or more of this field coming down together to have a shot at a transfer position if this thing goes green from start to finish?
I think you're going to need more than that. I think you're going to need 5, and because that's going to, it's going to leave about 7 or 8 on the track. So, and it depends on how you come back together. I mean, if you guys get on pit road and they get separated on pit road and it takes them a lap or 2 to get back together, they're losing time. And then if the next group comes in and they come out together and they don't lose any time, they're going to walk away. And it could go either way.
An eye on that silver 46, 5th on the inside line there of Tate Doris. He just chimed in on our YouTube chat and said, "Brick on my throttle pedal has been installed and brakes have been removed. We ready."
That's awesome. I tell you what, I think the 55 is going to pull this thing off tonight. What do y'all think?
I like Ken Roberts. I like Jason Scheck, too. It's been a bit of a winless streak for Jason Scheck. I think Roberts had a Tally Challenge win about 3 or 4 seasons ago. It's been a long winless streak for that Budweiser Chevrolet Silverado, but anybody in this field has a shot of winning. It's a super speedway race. If you're on the grid, you got a chance of taking that checkered flag. And for some of these drivers, they might just be happy to get that 3rd, 4th, or 5th place finish because it means they're going to get to go all-star racing. But here we go. 29 laps here for this All-Star Open, and we're green.
It's a main event. I mean, this is a main event with these guys, and these guys want to shine here and show them what, when all the guys that are driving later, they're watching, and they want to put on a show for them and let them know, hey, I can get this done.
Yeah, what about that? The All-Star drivers that are already locked in, yourself included, Donnie.
Oh, there we go. Big crash.
Mitch Bombard and JT Mayhew getting together. I don't think that's going to bring out a caution. We've seen it during the season in Tally Challenge. If they spin down below that yellow line, normally the lights don't come on. You can see no caution. We stay green.
Yeah, that separates the field there a little bit. These guys need to get back together and get these lines formed.
Go back to what I was going to say. I mean, getting the opportunity to observe here of maybe what to expect coming up here in the All-Star race. I mean, you've turned laps here in the Tally Challenge, so very familiar with the racetrack. Can you expect to have a race similar to what you had week after week in the Tally Challenge? Or are you expecting something entirely different and going to be keeping a close eye on this Open?
I think it's going to be totally different. I think we're racing for points. You got the admins looking at the race afterwards. This is one and done. There's nothing tomorrow. There's no penalty points or nothing like that. So it's balls to the wall, man. This is win or take that steering wheel home.
Get ready to come here, guys. We also got to remember too that it's the same thing we talk about even in the points paying races. The point of no return. This race could still end under caution.
Very good point. So I would think that point of return for a 29-lap event, we'd be looking somewhere in the region of completion of lap 25, maybe completion of 26. Saw Dave Melson coming to pit road. I'm going to assume that more than likely he was the one that bumped JT Mayhew on the back straightaway, having to serve that pass-through penalty since it didn't bring out a caution, still under green flag conditions.
Yeah, it's going to leave 12 cars in this lead pack, and you're starting to look around and see who hey, you want to pit with, and a lot of communication going on right now.
Glenn Harris, big shove there on that top side. Jason Scheck going to propel him to the race lead. How difficult has it got to be if you're looking back there? The transfer position right now would be Jessica Shelton on the top, Bob Dixon on the bottom for that 5th position. You could lose out in that final transfer spot by a splitter. I mean, you just got to hope that you're in the right line if indeed it comes down to side-by-side racing coming to the checkers.
Oh, yeah. Right now you're testing it. You're seeing, hey, if I'm up here on the top and I'm setting 6, and can I get a little run if I'm in this group, if I'm on the bottom? This track tends to play to the bottom if you got the right drivers down there. This thing is fast on the bottom, and the other version of the track is not as fast on the bottom as this one. But you put the right guys down on that bottom, I tell you what, that line will move.
Right now it's all top side, and you want to see, that's kind of what you want to see. It's mostly going to be the line that you can see that can stay together and push like that without messing up too badly and having to, and without all the checkups here. So we'll see that soon. Now, with knowing exactly how many laps of fuel you have and that can run down based on what you ran in practice here, when do you want to make that pit stop? Do you want to try to get a group of you to pit early and just see if you can ride it out to the end, or do you want to try to wait and see if there's going to be a caution flag?
I think you wait and see what, once you get in that window. I mean, if we're running 29 laps, then you've got to get to lap 10 or 11. Typically it's 8, 19, 20 laps that you're going to pit. So you want to look for anywhere between 10 and 11. on up, if a guy calls it, hey, I'm pitting, or you may get these, like I say, a lot of communications going on out there, and these guys might be already talking, saying, hey, when do you want to pit? Maybe we want a short pit so we don't get run over. A lot of that goes on during this part of the race.
Now, the one thing I'm thinking here is if you end up short pitting, do you think there is still a chance that you could cycle back out to the lead when the second group comes to pit road? Because I think you mentioned, Donnie, that if you ended up stretching as far as you could possibly go here on this first run, you'd only have to take on maybe about a can of fuel to make it to the rest of the way. If you came to pit road when the fuel window opens, you're taking on 2 cans. That's a little bit of extra precious time there on pit road and could translate to track position once everything cycles around.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it's like I say, a lot of decisions are going to be made here in the next, 8-10 laps. And right now they're just jockeying for position, trying to get comfortable, and just waiting to see what happens when the pit window opens.
Right now we've got 12 drivers up in this lead pack. Tom Dixon has lost the draft, and then JT Mayhew, Mitch Bombard, they were able to continue after their spins on back straightaway, but they are about 20 seconds behind. Dave Melson, we saw him serve the pass-through, but he is still on the lead lap. Right now he is running roughly about 12 seconds ahead of the race leader, Glenn Harris, so he's hoping for a caution to save him to stay on the lead lap. Of course, as typical RTG rules, that there are 2 lucky dogs for every caution we have, and if he does get put a lap down, he would be in a free pass position, but I think he'd like to have the caution sooner rather than later, not have to rely on that lucky dog position.
I completely agree with that too. You don't want to have to rely on a lucky dog here. Gotta hope for a little bit of luck here, but these trucks are mostly single file running that middle lane.
Yeah, those top 4 got a lot of experience up there. The top 4 on the top line there. There's a lot of experience between those 4 drivers, and they're just riding, taking it easy right now, staying out of the craziness, and just waiting. Like I say, just waiting for that big pit window to open up and try to get in here and get out fast. But like I say, you got to get in with guys that's going to come back out and stay together, not get separated. And you want to pit with the fast guys.
Now let's talk about one thing we haven't mentioned, and that is pit road and the art of hot pitting. A lot of drivers here may have to kind of adapt that strategy because we know there are quite a few drivers in this field that are very well versed in the art of hot pitting. And
I can say I'm not one of them.
I was going to say, sometimes when it's a non-points event, you want to try and go that little extra mile per hour if you can, and maybe it might be 1 mile per hour too much. I mean, you could throw away an opportunity at transferring after running top 5 the entirety of the night just with one little mistake on pit road.
Yeah, and you can look at it another way too. So, if you hot pit, and this is a small field, so if you come in, you hot pit, and you successfully pull that off, and you get back out on the track, and you get way out there ahead of everybody because you hot pit it, you're a sitting duck when that crowd gets to you. So I think in this format, you're better off to kind of come in conservative and stay with that pack instead of trying to jump the pack. Now, if you're in the back, now these trucks in the very, very back, they may want to hot pit to catch up to the front and be coming out with the front leaders. But yeah, I think hot pitting here in a field this size is really kind of detrimental to you.
Dave Melson going to go a lap down. We see Ken Roberts. He was up at the front, started on the pole, got freight trained there around the top side. He's fallen back to around 7th or 8th, but he's not left the bottom. He's picked up Bob Dixon and now Tate Dorsey, trying to make that inside line work. You talked about, Donnie, the fact that this particular track, as opposed to the Talladega track, not as middle line oriented. Is it just the fact that there's not enough numbers down there right now for Ken Roberts to be able to make forward progress here? Did they need 2, 3, 4 more trucks? What do they need to be able to start moving forward?
Well, you need that energy behind you too. So you just don't have the numbers down there. When you got 8 or 9, 10 there on that top line, you got 4. There's just nothing you can do. Just ride and wait it out, and maybe look for a hole to get up and go from there.
We'll see if somebody can get antsy up in the front here. Maybe pull down to the inside could bring their cars right up to them.
Wiley Cohn's
they're moving a little bit.
Yeah, Wiley Cohn, that 5 keeps looking like he wants to peek down there potentially. Shelton's going to jump down there.
There goes Shelton, yeah.
She must have been listening to us.
So now going to move to alongside for 3rd. And you just see how that tows that entire inside line with Ken Roberts and company. Pulls Ken Roberts up side by side for 5th. So that's Roberts and Milt Surratt for the 5th position right now, the final transfer spot.
Yeah,
Gotta
if you watch
stay.
them, they're moving around a lot up there on that top line. They're really, they're jumping around top to bottom. And look at that bottom line, how tight it is. And that actually will propel you faster than getting up on that top line and kind of spreading out, getting all over the place if you watch it like that.
They've got to stay tucked one behind each other, trying to get up there with the bump drafting too to stay relevant. Maybe a little bit of side drafting, and I guess I can almost say pinching a little bit to try to keep center with these cars.
Why that movement on the top side there, Donnie? Is it chain bumping, getting these drivers out of shape? Are they like kind of unsure if they want to jump down there to the inside line? Because we're seeing first, second, third in that top line there, the 8, the 44, and the 5. I mean, they just can't seem to get those bumpers lined up at all, even on the straights.
Yeah, they're playing around right now, and Jessica was running pretty high up on that white line, so that's kind of forcing some of them guys a little bit higher coming off of the corner, and then some of them guys are swinging it down. But that white line, I mean, if you follow that white line all the way around, that is the fastest way to go around here. And I I preach that all the time. Hey, get on that white line. Let's stay on the white line. You stay square to the bumper in front of you, and this line is going to go. It's when you start getting that spread out. I call it the parachute effect. And when these guys do that, it's just like throwing a parachute out there. It's going to drag that line back. And if you get a line that's tight on the bottom, it'll be faster, but you've got to stay lockstep with that guy in front of you.
Well, Glenn Harris so far has led 11 of the completed 12 laps. Ken Roberts, the only other driver that has been out in front, and that was for the completion of the first lap of this race. So I think it's safe to say that for the Krispy Kreme Chevrolet, his fuel window is going to be lap 18. I'm not sure he'll even be able to make it to lap 19 because he's used up a lot of fuel creating the draft for everybody else behind him.
Correct. You never want to lead that first session because you will use the most fuel. And you'll watch coming off pit road, if he goes in with everybody else, he'll probably come out behind them because he's got to take on more fuel than everyone else.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Glenn Harris and Milt Surratt in last year's Superspeedway Series All-Star race, those two worked together a lot and actually both transferred in. So when the 8 dives to pit road, I would be very shocked if we don't see the 80 dive down there with him. And like you said, Donnie, a lot of communications go on here in Superspeedway racing, especially when there's a green flag pit stop looming. So it'd be interesting to see when the 8 dives onto pit road, how many allies are going to jump down there with him.
Yeah, there's not a quiet second on the team speak when you get to about we're lap 14 coming to lap 15 here. We got 4 or 5 laps before these guys are going to start pitting if they're going to run it out, and the communication is just crazy. Trying to say, hey, where did you start? Smaller field like this, you pretty much know where everybody's at, but in these bigger fields, when it starts moving around on these starts, you want to know the guy around you. Hey, are you in front of me? Are you behind me? Am I going to go in high? Are you going to go in low? And you start working that. And we've seen a lot of pit road incidents, through the regular season. But we've tried to stop that with a lot of communication and trying to talk to everybody around you to kind of see, hey, when are you going to go in? You want to go in high? You want to go in low? A lot of communications.
I see that bottom lane able to make ground in the corner, but they just lose it coming off.
It's 9 versus 4. I mean, that's tough. And you could put the best 4 down there, and I don't think you could beat 9.
And the thing is, too, I ended up getting introduced to this racetrack and how it runs a couple of weeks ago, and it seems like on that inside line, there is still that kind of push-up that we see drivers deal with at the Talladega track here in RTG as well, and that just kind of stifles out that momentum on the inside line. You have to turn hard left on the wheel.
Back. Oh, there we go.
I don't know if it's at the right of the rear tires, they slide or what it is, but it just seems to scrub off a mile per hour or so, and that just kills the momentum for the back straightaway for the inside line.
I wonder if we're going to see pit stops maybe. That was a lot of cars moving to the inside.
Yeah, Sheck diving down there on Harris. Well, nope, not this time yet, but it could have been that fight for the bottom in preparation for green flag pit stops.
That's correct, Seth. I tell you, that it's a trend that's starting to develop that, that line, that faster lines, that top line, when you get down to about 5 or 6 to go, that line starts to move down. You don't want to get caught up there on that top and get kind of hung out. So now it's kind of like the race to the bottom when you get about 5 or 6 to go before pit stops.
3 different manufacturers, top 3, Chevy, Dodge, and Toyota.
I believe you got to go back to 5th place before you find the first Ford in Milt Surratt. Actually, no, I guess he's a Chevrolet. It's showing that he's on a Ford chassis, though. Oh, here comes Bob Dixon to pit road in the 143.
That'll cost him.
All by himself.
That's bad, yeah. That'll cost him.
Matt McIntyre decided to come down as well. The Dixons usually, aren't they the ones that usually pit a lap early before everybody else does?
Yeah,
that's correct.
If I remember correctly. It's been a while since I called a race.
Yeah, they're usually 2 or 3 laps ahead of everybody. They want to get in, and they're going to look out one of these nights, and it's going to be a caution going down the backstretch, and they're going to come out leading this thing 1-2 as brothers, and that'll be pretty cool to see. Yeah, they do that.
Seeing radios lighten up, I think we're going to see a number of our front runners here possibly dive onto pit road potentially.
Jessica doing a little warp in there.
Little warp for the 20 of Jessica Shelton in 3rd position. Here we go.
Oh,
It's everybody.
They are gonna hot pit.
Nope,
Everybody
Dave
except
Nelson's
for one.
staying out. Well, Melson, remember, is off the sequence too. He might be hoping for a caution there.
Shelton
Because
hot
he's a
pit.
lap down.
Not in Shelton. Sorry, I meant to say Wiley Coat hot pit. Let's see if he made it.
Oh, we're
without
3
getting-
wide on pit road with Bombard, Milt Surratt, and Tate Dorsey. Hopefully they get that settled out quickly.
It was a great entry for everybody.
Nobody ran each other over. Hopefully they all got it down to pit road speed. Don't believe
Looks like
anybody
fuel only,
stayed
looks
out.
like fuel only for a Wiley Coat.
So, Seth, do you want to come out leading here? Or do you want to be about 3rd or 4th in line? Where do you want to be?
Honestly, I think I want to be in the lead because, the worst you want to fall back to is 5th place. I think you got a better chance if you lose 1 or 2 spots of still transferring in if you're out in front rather than if you're in 3rd or 4th position. I mean, a move that kicks you to the high side if you're in 3rd, you're outside of a transfer spot.
All right, well, let's see now. Let's see if there's anybody around here that might have gotten a black flag. Can't ever rule those out either.
Just about everybody come out of pit road together. About 8 trucks, all nose to tail, leaving pit lane. Jason Scheck won the battle off of pit road there over Ken Roberts and Wiley Coat. And here's something, too, that we were noticing in the All-Star Open Speedway side on Monday night. You would think that only one driver was transferring into the All-Star race, and that one, I mean, they were racing tooth and nail for the lead, for 2nd, for 3rd place, and we were thinking, guys, you're already in transfer spots. Don't tear your equipment up. Do we see something like that here, or are your top 5 just going to be in ride mode?
I think with the top 5 up there, it's probably going to be 50-50. A couple of them up there are pretty smart veterans, and they're going to be like, look, I just want to transfer. I don't need to set the world on fire here. But then you got other ones that are going to be like, look, I got a chip on my shoulder, and I want to win this thing. I want to show the big boys that are watching this thing that I'm a winner. And they're going to go for this thing and see if they can pick up that trophy.
Looks like it's going to be 9 drivers to battle for 5 positions if Ronald Doucet and Terry Bombard can keep in touch with the draft. Top line forming there, Jessica Shelton, Tate Dorsey. Inside line, Glenn Harris and Milt Surratt. They got them stacked up, 4th place on back.
Good to see Milt Surratt back in the field here tonight. Got Wiley moving to the top side there to make it even here, 3 on 4, 3 on 5 here.
Oh, there goes another car, yep. And Jessica Shelton's going to dive back down to the inside. Here, yeah, these couple cars here, I was going to say the last transfer spot was that 46, but that time by it was actually the 20, side by side with Wiley Coat. And they got a couple lap trucks in front of them.
Michael brought up a good point, and I think I've asked you this before, Donnie, at the end of Tally Challenge races as well, of how difficult it is to plan near the end of the race with that point of no return possibility. Race could end on the checkered flag, absolutely, but it could also end 3 laps earlier, taking a caution. If you're planning to make a move for that final transfer position, how difficult is it to prepare something like that, not knowing just exactly which flag you might be racing to?
I want to tell you, it's mentally exhausting. After these races, I am mentally exhausted, and not physically, but mentally, because you're making decisions 80 to 100 times a lap, and go here, go there, wait, don't go. It just, there's so many decisions being made, to put yourself in position, and it's mentally draining.
Tom Dixon, the 45, going a lap down. Mitch Bombard, who we saw have that spin with JT Mayhew on the back straightaway in the early stages. Didn't bring out a yellow, but He's sporting some rear end damage, and now he falls a lap down. Like a couple of drivers had some slow pit stops. Brian Ronson, Matt McIntyre, about 20 seconds back for both of them. So they would be hoping for a caution, which is going to have to come out sooner rather than later now for drivers that are trying to catch back up or get the lucky dog spots, because next time by it is 6 laps to go.
Yeah, one thing to think about, the 55 and the 80 up here are teammates. So if the 80 could get clear and throw that top side and be communicating with that 55 and they go at the same time, could surprise that low line, and they could walk away.
Wiley Coates making a move there on the top side of Milt Surratt. That is for the 5th and final transfer position. Tate Dorsey up there with the Castrol Edge Dodge, and like also is that Terry Bombard up there as well.
Yeah, it's almost like I was saying too. I feel like, as exciting as it is, with the limited amount of trucks in this pack, it's a little difficult to make a move sometimes. So I feel like we could possibly see it, the top 3, maybe 4 trucks, just kind of ride where they're at right now and just have the battle be for the final transfer spot.
Yeah, that's probably what they're thinking. I mean, they say they could be in there communicating, whispering back and forth, going, "Hey, you know what? We're pretty solid here. Let's just stay in line."
And let's also mention the fact, too, for our viewers that this is not like you would normally have for an all-star race, where if you transfer into the all-star race, you start at the rear of the field in the final 5 positions. No, when the 5 drivers transfer in, they'll get to qualify during the all-star race qualifying and have a chance of starting up inside the top 10, top 5. Who knows? There's a couple of these drivers here that are very fast with Q runs, might end up starting on the pole position with their transferring in.
Yeah, Sheck's pretty fast and qualifying, so he's definitely a threat.
Milt Surratt still. Let's follow this battle for the 5th position. Wiley Coat. I think for Wiley Coat on back, they're realizing what the strategy is for the top 5. Hug that inside line. They got to make something happen on that top line. Their hand is forced.
Yeah, the 80's the one's going to make the decision right here, because 80's the one that's in the middle of all that. So if the 80 can get clear of the 5 and pull up there, I think they'll pull back to them. But if the 80 stays down, I just don't think that top line can do anything.
I think the run, if the outside lane's going to do anything, the run might come from Shelton. If Shelton decides she wants to pull up, she might be able to kind of drag that pack in front of her. But like we've said before, Seth, it's lap 26 now. I believe this would be the point of no return.
And with the way that they're wadded up on that inside line, there's no space for anybody to duck down to the inside line. So if you're Wiley Coat and you're getting pushed by the 46, you're basically committed to the top line the remainder of this run, whether you're coming back to a caution or to that checkered flag, because there's going to be no opportunity for you to be able to duck down in line inside of that top 5.
At this point, honestly, unless the 5 has a huge run, the outside lane can gain a little bit on the straightaways, but lose it all in the turns. So running the inside lane is probably going to be the best bet. That the final transfer spot's going to be where it goes. And you see Shelton now going to move to the outside. We'll see if this is going to work.
The right rear of Glenn Harris does Shelton. Going to toe that outside line there. Wiley Coat, I believe it.
Oh, big move.
A little contact.
A little bit of a block, maybe a little bit of bumper grab right there. But now everyone's on the outside.
Shelton on the inside with Jason Sheck and Milt Surratt. Ken Roberts jumps up there to the outside line. All of a sudden, all of the drivers that looked like they were in transfer spots in 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. Big question marks now. Wiley Coat jumps down to the inside line now. He's in 5th, but Tate Dorsey pulls up alongside.
Man, Donnie, you called the 55, and here he is battling for the lead on the outside.
I tell you, I've been really impressed with him this last couple of seasons. I've been running with him and been paying attention to what he's been doing. And I tell you what, he's clean, he's quiet, don't make a lot of crazy moves, and just a real good hard racer.
Ooh, I think that last time by, Tate Dorsey crossed the line in 5th place over Wiley Coat. So if that race had ended right there, Dorsey would be in, Wiley Coat would be out, but there's still 2 laps to go. Over 3 miles, actually over 5 miles of racing still left for these drivers.
I don't know about that inside lane. It's going to fall back pretty quickly. The outside has more cars in it.
They're pushing pretty hard up there, though.
Push could come to shove, and that's when mistakes could be made. Got to make sure you don't take yourself out of the running of this thing. As right now, the 55 is clear for the lead. Glenn Harris almost was clear for 2nd. I think he is now. Third place side by side, fifth place side by side. Shelton and Terry Bombard right now. White flag in the air. One more lap to go here in the All-Star Open.
Yeah, if I'm 55, I think I try to pull the 8 to the bottom and just go ahead and close this thing out.
Like he might be thinking about that. Moving low. Not going to go all the way down there, though. Glenn Harris trying to stay glued to the back bumper of the 55. Tate Dorsey right now in that third position. Then you've got Terry Bombard and Ronald Lucey now up into that fifth spot. Mr. Quiet in this All-Star Open, the 62.
It's gonna remember the start-finish line's not
Oh!
in the
Trouble.
Lucey around up to those Shelton. Sheck up into the wall. Milt Surratt into the wall. Wiley Cote as well.
We're going to have a race back here because there's 4 going to the
There's
finish there.
There's only 4 coming back. Who's going to be that fifth car? Who's going to be that fifth truck? Roberts, Harris, Dorsey, and Bombard. We know they're transferring. Fifth place truck right now is Milt, maybe, as Coates trying to get it turned back around. Surratt's going through the grass. Those are lap trucks right there. I think it might be the 80 of Milt Surratt through the infield grass unless somebody gets going. Wiley Coates trying to get back. Oh, it's going to be close between the 80 and the 5. Potentially the 80 spins out. The 80 hits the inside wall. It's Wiley Coates, I think, got fifth. He did.
Yes, he did.
That might have been the slowest battle back to the line for a transfer spot that we've ever seen, but man, it was exciting.
I bet you the Richard Petty finished that one time several years ago.
Holy cow. The 5 gets P5. And Wiley Coates going to make his way into the All-Star race along with Terry Bombard, Tate Dorsey, Glenn Harris, and the All-Star Open winner, Ken Roberts.
Hey, I called that.
Yeah.
Hey, Donnie, that was just the
call.
Open. Guess what? You got an All-Star race to run in.
Yeah.
more cars and maybe more excitement than what we just saw.
Yeah, I'm going to be running up here and putting on my fire suit here in a second. And I tell you one thing, I got goosebumps after watching that there. I'm ready to go, bud.
Putting on your fire suit this late? Man, most broadcasters just broadcast in their fire suit nowadays.
Oh, no. I got to wear my suit for this, and I'll go get on my little fire suit and get ready to take the old Astro Glide clip speaker car on to the front there.
We got to get you a fire suit that looks like a suit with a tie on it. That way you're wearing a suit and a fire suit all at the same time.
There you go.
Here's a look at the finishing. That was I was not expecting that battle for fifth back to the line. There's your finishing results. Top 5 transferring in, and we'll be talking to those top 5 transferees in just a moment. Some of the drivers didn't get a chance to really get out of the gate there. Obviously, tough break there for Tom Dixon losing the draft early on. I think that was in part to the 97 of Mitch Bombard and JT Mayhew in the 338 going around the back straightaway, and Dave Melson with the pass-through penalty. No cautions coming out to save any of those drivers. So a tough break there. Early issues and not enough time to be able to mount comebacks for them.
Yeah, we got an eye in the sky tonight too, so we'll have to go back and look at all that and see what the what the official word is on all that.
Right.
Well, we could have. From what I saw, it was just somebody was trying to pull out to the inside. It looked like Jess was trying to pull to the inside to make a final run to get into the top 5, and I believe the 46 was, I guess, going to go with her. Made a move a little too late, and just bumpers collided and ended up taking each other out.
I think both drivers that were involved in the initial contact, Shelton and Lucey, neither one of them transferred. So might kind of be a moot point for the eye in the sky as to who was at fault, because I don't think either one are transferred into the All-Star race here with where they finished. Let's see if we can dial up our finishers. You guys want to hear what Wiley Cote thought of that final run to the checkers here?
Let's hear it.
Let's see if we can dial him up.
Keep going.
Hey, Wiley, it's Donnie, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. How are we doing?
Well, we were shouting up here in the broadcast booth because we couldn't believe what we were seeing there. Donnie hit the nail on the head. It kind of was Richard Petty, David Pearson-esque there with some wrecked trucks racing back to the start-finish line. But, man, you kept your foot in the throttle. You brought that thing home in P5, transferring into the All-Star race. Describe what it was like in the cockpit of that Dodge from turn 4 back to that checkered flag.
Oh, that was crazy. I couldn't believe it. And I couldn't get my car to bite in order to get some traction and make the turnaround. And I kept on trying to downshift, upshift. I was trying to do all kinds of things to get it to get some traction to get myself back across the line. And then I saw Mitch Bombard go by and I knew he was a lap down. I said, oh, I can't let him beat me for the fifth.
Did you know you had a shot at it there, Wiley?
I thought I was close, but I didn't know how close. And I wasn't going to look at my board just to see.
Yeah, that was absolutely crazy. I mean, with him spinning out like that right before the start finish line, definitely helped.
Oh,
But
without a
man, that was
doubt, I couldn't
crazy.
get. Yeah, I was kind of buried in sixth and seventh position, and there was nowhere to go. And I knew I wasn't going to get that kind of run I needed to get myself at least to the fifth position. But then I saw them all flying everywhere, and thank you.
Well, I mean, with this All-Star Open comes experience. Obviously, we're going to be doubling the field size. We're going to be doubling the race length with this upcoming All-Star race. I mean, if Carnage breaks out late in that All-Star race, you think you got something squirreled away to maybe be able to get back to the start-finish line, be the first of that checkered flag?
I think I do. I think if I can get myself up and hang in the top 10, I got something for them at the end because I was moving right along, hugging the track and the lines that I wanted to hug. I got my marks, and I felt real confident at where I was.
Yeah, you look good out there. I was talking about the experience up towards the front there, and you guys were just kind of riding and biding your time like you should. And when it was come down to race time, y'all start making some moves. But great finish. The 5 truck finishes 5th. That's a pretty cool omen.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Definitely a strong truck. We saw you getting that outside line going there late to get yourself up into a transfer spot and that exciting finish at the end. We'll let you get prepared for the All-Star race coming up. Before we do, though, floor's yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs, Ron.
I want to thank FRN. They do a heck of a job broadcasting here all season. It's exciting to watch these guys, and to watch the replays the next day it just brings back chills and memories and so forth. It's a great thing, and I want to thank Donnie Garrett for sponsoring half these um, floor shows and the live shows on YouTube. Appreciate it very much. It gives us an opportunity to showcase what we do here.
Yeah, well, absolutely. I appreciate all you guys. I love all you guys, and um, we race hard, but um, we take care of each other, and love putting it on. And Ultimate Garage 4 is my company. Sponsoring all these races. Just have a good time with it.
Wiley Coate, 5th place. He's transferred into the All-Star race. Good luck in that, Wiley. Thank you for that exciting finish, and we look forward to yet another one upcoming here.
I don't know if I can take another one. Thank you very much.
Let's see if we can now dial up the driver that brings it home, P4. Let's see if we can get Terry Bombard. Terry, it's Donnie, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Yes, sir. How you doing, brother?
Well, 2 for 2 in transferring into the All-Star races this week via the Open. Here tonight, maybe a little bit easier for you, transferring in that 4th position up front all night long. And this truck looked really fast out there. What do you think? Can we maybe see this thing in victory lane by the end of the night in this All-Star race?
I don't think so, but you never know, I'm
Never
gonna give
know
it my
what's-
best, see what happens out there. But I was just hoping Tate or Mitch or JT would get in because we were on our Friday. We were the 4 in our Friday night leagues that run, and I was hoping that one of us would have got in. So I was gonna push Tate in as best I could out there.
Yeah, all that lane shifting before the pit stop there is different. Did you expect the middle lane to be one of the fastest at the time, or did you expect it to be a low line racetrack?
Yeah, it's always the middle line here. If you're at the end, though, you have trouble, but you got that middle line, and you stay there, and pretty much everybody, when it's time to pit, they all go down to the bottom. But if you're good, if you can pit through that second line and stay right up with everybody. I overshot my pit stall a touch, so that didn't help me on the pit stop, but everything worked out. I seem to be getting lucky for a change, so I'm enjoying the luck. Hope it continues.
Well, Terry, we're going to let you get prepared for that upcoming All-Star race. Congratulations on a job well done. You bring the truck home in one piece here in preparation for the upcoming main event. Before I let you go, though, we'll give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
Hey, I'd like to thank RTG putting on this All-Star races every off season. It's great stuff. They really great place to race. Appreciate you guys coming over here and taking time out of your busy schedule to broadcast it for us. Appreciate that. You guys do a fantastic job. Sorry to say Mitch and JT didn't get in there with me because work together. Too bad that happened on that very first backstretch, but Mitch does all my paint for me, so he painted this truck with the maximum overdrive for me. So he appreciate him all the time, and let's thank. That's about it. Keep up the good work, guys.
That's Terry Bombard. He's getting ready to race in the All-Star race here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway, bringing it home P4 in the All-Star Open. Congratulations once again, and hopefully we'll talk to you here by the end of the night. Good luck.
10-4. Have a good race, guys.
Continue on up the list and see if we can get our third place finisher here tonight. There he is. Let's see if we can dial up Tate Dorsey. Hey, Tate. It's Michael, Donnie, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you.
Okay, well, we're about 5 laps away from the checkered flag. You're running about 6th or 7th. You're on the outside looking in. How were you able to cut your way through there and get up into a podium spot to transfer into this All-Star race?
Man, I don't know what it felt like for Wiley, but I was pushing through the corners more than I think I ever have. I could get him to about 5th, and I was like, we just need just a little bit more. Maybe I can make a move. I don't know what happened in the front, but it got a little mixed up. And then we had an extra car up top, and we were able to get a run up there, and then something happened behind me, and I was in 3rd, and I was like, sweet. Sucks for them. I thought it was going to be a really good race to the finish. I was pretty excited about it, but I will take a for sure thing.
Was you thinking about going for the win there at any point of that last lap there? You just pretty content to ride in that 3rd spot?
Oh, yeah. I was trying out of 4. I peaked out, and I just didn't have a draft behind me, and I was hoping the 2nd place guy was going to go because I always got to go for the win. Makes it way more fun. But yeah, just couldn't get the draft lined up. So I was like, well, at least I got 3rd. But yeah, I was trying to peak out.
How much confidence does this give you moving into the big race tonight? And you're kind of new around here, and you're in the big event now. And how you feel about that?
I feel pretty good, especially like racing on the track and everything. You just get a feel how the bottom lane goes, and because usually it takes a couple laps just to get used to when you got to let off, when you got to turn. Now it's like already warmed up. I already went through the practice and in race mode.
Well,
So I feel pretty good.
We're looking forward to seeing what you're going to be able to do here in this upcoming All-Star race. Tate, before we let you go and get yourself mentally prepared for that upcoming main event, we're going to let you have the opportunity. Thanks to sponsors and do some shout-outs.
Yeah, I think the other guy said, but thanks, RTG. This league is super fun. Really enjoy this racing. The first race I ever did, I was like, this is crazy. We're going 3 wide, 40 cars, but super fun. They do a really good job. I race on Fridays with them sometimes too, and just a good group of guys. I want to thank my wife too. She took the kiddo and a little bit earlier today because I had a race to get to. So thanks, wife, for letting me race. Yeah, just everyone that came out and raced. It's fun over here.
Tate Dorsey, 3rd place here in the All-Star Open. He's getting ready to go All-Star racing here tonight at BSR. Best of luck, and maybe we'll be talking to you down there in Victory Lane by the end of this one.
Good luck, Tate.
Thank you.
See if we can get the driver that brought it home runner-up here in the All-Star Open. Let's dial up Glenn Harris. Glenn, it's Donnie, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
10-4, guys.
I'll tell you what, that Krispy Kreme Chevrolet looked pretty good out there in the wind in that first stint leading up to that round of green flag pit stops. Pretty much up beside the top 3 all night long. Now, I remember last season's All-Star race, or last year's All-Star race, we saw this number 8 up there at the front. You transferred into the All-Star race and were quite a player once we got into the main event. What do you think about tonight?
Well, I hope I have the same luck in the All-Star I did in the Open. It was just, trying to keep it clean and in line to take advantage of the draft. Focus on a good pit stop and see how we shook out after that.
Glenn, do you have anything for him at the end? Was you going to try and make a move, or was you pretty content to sit there in second place and get that good transfer spot?
Donnie, I think I just had to hold on to second. Our pack broke apart up there in 3 and 4, and I wouldn't have been able to get around Ken, so I just followed him on to the end.
Yeah, smart move there. Could have caused a wreck, and we saw fifth place was a half a lap back when the race actually ended, and Wiley finally come all the way around the track there and passed everybody. So yeah, smart move. Watching you all night, you did a great job out there tonight, and good luck to you in this main event coming up. Be racing with you here in a little bit.
All right, appreciate that, Donnie.
Glenn Harris, second place here. He'll be battling in this all-star race. And now let's see if we can get a hold of the guy who went coast to coast, actually. Started on the pole and brings it home with the first W here tonight. That is Ken Roberts. Ken, it's Donnie, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Howdy, guys.
All right, so you started up front in this race, this All-Star Open. You bring it home P1 here, but had to kind of fight your way up there back to the front. That inside line didn't seem to really get going in the first portion of this race. I mean, was it pit road that helped you get up there? Was there somebody you were able to find a draft with? And anything from that you're able to apply here in preparation for this All-Star race?
Well, I think I had a pretty good pit stop, and then I come out and I was behind Sheck. And that was really the plan because, he come out first. I was behind him. I was pretty happy with that. And we're just burning laps. And all of a sudden, my screen went black. And so I went up to the high side. That's why I went to the outside of him. I wasn't trying to pass him. I was just trying to get out of the way. And when I came back, Glenn was behind me. And, we were right next to Sheck. And I was like, well, we'll just keep on going, I guess.
Ken, I've been running around you a lot at the front in the Thursday night races, and been absolutely impressed with your performance. And I picked you tonight to win this thing, and you went coast to coast, so you made me look like a star. So I appreciate that. But you got stuck on that bottom there, and I got to tell you guys, man, ride that bottom out, just ride it out. And you did. You didn't panic, and you got on pit road, made up some space there, and got up there and won this thing. So congratulations on that tonight. And what's your thoughts for the big race here coming up?
I just, just like any other race, just keep it clean and try to be there at the end.
10-4.
Oh, Ken, going to be a lot of fun to watch this number 55. We know that you, as well as the other 4 transferees, going to get the opportunity here in the upcoming qualifying session to try and start up there towards the front of the field. If you start up there towards the front, based on what we saw in the Open, might see this 55 stay up there at the front. So good luck on that. And before I let you go, we'll give it the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
Yeah, I'd like to shout out to my guys at BSR and the guys I race with over at Talladega Nights. A lot of fun over there. Well, Seth, you've been over there a couple times. And just hope for a good race tonight.
Ken Roberts, he'll look for the All-Star sweep here tonight. He's already won the All-Star Open. He'll look to see if he can get the All-Star race victory in tonight's main event. Good luck, Ken.
Thanks, guys.
All right, well, don't go anywhere, folks, because our coverage is just beginning, and we've already had one crazy finish here tonight, and that was just the qualifying race in the Open. We're getting ready here for the All-Star Race main event. Donnie, you're going to be a part of that. We appreciate you joining us up in the booth for this Open, though. I mean, I saw the pencil and notepad out there taking some notes here for this upcoming All-Star Race. So you said you don't think this is going to be like a normal league race, so what kind of secrets you got here that you might be planning on using in preparation for this non-points event?
Well, I tell you what, I might not race now because I got writer's cramp. Because I've been taking a lot of notes. And but yeah, it's going to be wild. It's a race there's no points. There's no penalties, nothing like that at the end. It's bring home the steering wheel, the checker flag, and you're going to see some wild finish. Like I said earlier, you could be this race could end with you on fire, upside down, and in the air, and that could be your winner. And I don't doubt that could happen tonight. But I'm feel privileged to be in it, and thank you for letting us come up here tonight and join you guys and play around up here in the booth a little bit. And I'm gonna go here and give them hell. And I got a golf cart here sitting waiting for me. I gotta get back here and get my fire suit on real quick and get out here and maybe take a couple laps and then get in this race, see what I can do with them.
We'll let you get to that quick change artistry. Donnie, appreciate you joining us up here in the booth. Good luck here tonight.
Thanks, sir.
And as Donnie Garrett makes his departure from the broadcast booth, we now welcome in yet another RTG driver, Dante Ricky, a driver that we saw go to victory lane in the last season of the Talladega Challenge, so he knows a thing or two about super speedway racing. I mean, Dante,
yeah.
we already just saw an unbelievable finish in a qualifying race. Now we double the field, we double the race length, and there's still no points on the line. There's just one position everybody wants to be, and that's P1 when the checker flag waves.
That's absolutely right, Seth. And speaking of which, you're talking to the guy who's crossed the start-finish line first in the last two Superspeedway All-Star races. It's unfortunate I only got the win for one of them last year, but at the same time, we had an amazing finish, and there were a lot of things that really surprised me in that open race for sure.
Obviously, a smaller field in the open races. Michael was talking about usually with less cars, it's a little bit more difficult to generate a run. So, what are we expecting to see here? Are we going to see just double wide? Are we going to see 3 wide in the early going here with these guys? I mean, when does the aggression level kick up? Is it at the immediate drop of the green flag? Or do we wait until maybe a first round of green flag pit stops? Or do we wait until 10 to go?
Well, in last year's race, it started right on the green flag. I got clear of the inside line, went to the bottom, got in front of them, and then very quickly I was able to pull myself back in front. And at that very moment, it was immediately 3 wide, you know? So I'm expecting these guys to go all out right from the beginning. It looks like they're doing a qualifying session right now, which is pretty cool. Usually we do the lottery starts, and, you know, whoever the fastest on this qualifying lap is will be the pole sitter. And I'll tell you what, the interesting thing is I'm pretty good at qualifying. I haven't told everybody every single secret, but some of these guys are getting a lot better. I think Rodney Sullins is going to get a good qualifying run among a few other people, and it's going to be a really exciting race.
It'll be definitely interesting to watch, too, with more drivers in it, more possible chances to generate runs, and, you know, there's I think 20 or so extra laps in this race than there was, so a whole nother second pit stop.
I'm going to ask you both a question. I'll start with you, Michael, and the fact that, you know, as mentioned, these drivers are getting an opportunity here. It's not lotto queue. They get a chance to kind of control their own destiny in the early going with where they start in the field. With it being a non-points event, I know it's a super speedway, but with the aggressiveness that we're expecting to see here in the early going of this race, is track position going to be important at the beginning?
Yes. Yes, it is, because, you know, it's going to be all about where you can place yourself to generate the runs that you can get. Like we saw during the All-Star Open race, the outside lane is where you want it to be. And then whenever it depends on which line has the most cars, usually is where the run goes. So if you're pretty far up in the pack when you're a part of those lines, you have a good shot at remaining in the top couple cars here and fighting yourself away for the win. Also, I'm a little disappointed. I was really hoping you would ask me a non-yes or no question just so I could answer yes.
Oh, okay. Dante, you know, one thing that I mentioned to Donnie in the All-Star Open, from a driver's point of view, we know that this is a non-points event, but at the same time, drivers have to be respectful of each other out there with the moves they make, and there is a rule in place here for this entire All-Star event, as well as the Open, where you cause an incident and your night is done. It's a one incident and park. So how do you kind of balance the aggressive level with the respect level
and
here in an event like this?
That's where we add one factor to the winner of this race, and that's luck of location. Because you could get caught up in something similar to what happened with Mitch Bombard and Tom Dixon, who checked up, and JT at the beginning of the Open. They unfortunately got caught up in an incident, and that was their chance to make the race, being a caution-free event till the end. Now, the only one single exception to the incident rule will be if the incident does not bring out the yellow. That will more than likely allow them to drive through. But if that yellow comes out and that incident gets charged to you, aside from a racing deal, your night's done. So it's going to be really, really interesting to see who can avoid the accident. And that's where that thing that Michael talked about, that track position, that's really going to come into play.
Respect, please. We're not out there to make friends.
Right.
You don't need friends to win a super speedway race.
No, you just need to You just need yourself, a whole lot of luck, and a couple of cars behind you.
So it's
That's
looking
right.
like at least right now, 23 drivers have taken time. That may not include all the drivers that are locked into this All-Star Race field. We were told that there were more than likely going to be a few drivers that were going to miss out on the event that were already locked in. Obviously, we've got one of them up here in the booth with us,
Yep.
Dante Ricky, who would have been eligible for this All-Star Race event as well. So it looks
Oh,
like
he
we've
could
got
drive and commentate at the same time.
like
He's,
well, we got 25 drivers, I believe, that are going to be taking the green flag here tonight. 20 drivers already that were locked in based off the criteria from the last 2 seasons, which, if I'm not mistaken, not only included the Talladega Challenge, but also the RTR Superspeedway series that runs
Yes.
on Tuesday night, and Superspeedways that run in both the Bare Bones and the Aero 88 series also.
Yes,
Hey.
it did. And we replaced our Cup Series with a new period season Super Speedway League, and all of those races, regardless of whether it's Texas World, Daytona, Talladega, RTR, Super Flat, Talladega, it's all counted for this race tonight.
I'm not going to lie, based off of the last couple of seasons broadcasting the Tally Challenge where it's Lotto Q, I'm not used to seeing a grid with lap times after it. This is very foreign to me.
yeah, I want to say this. I want to point this out. Flatcaster out-qualified me twice now tonight in the same night, but I was top of the board in practice, so I win.
Blackcaster has actually a recorded poll in the Tally Challenge. That's what irks me. I have never gotten an RTG poll, and Flatcaster's already got a 1 in the poll column.
I'll tell you, this new setup is really fast, has a lot of draft, and races really well. It allows a little bit more 3 wide than the one that we used with the Men Cup mod a couple of years ago. The pole time tonight was a 51.948 by Bob Seminara, very close to Rodney Sullivan's Ken Roberts, who were 951.953. I'll tell you right now that on this setup, high 920s are possible, and high 930s are very, very, normal for someone like me. So these lap times are right where they are, and I can tell that the drivers are a little rusty, but it is really exciting whenever somebody can come out here and run a really fast lap and get a front row start.
Let's have a driver versus driver opinion here, because when we had Donnie up in the booth earlier for the Open, he said that this racetrack, it caters more to the inside line as opposed to the middle line we're used to seeing at the Talladega track. Do you concur with that, or do you think that this is a track that also caters to the middle lane?
Well, I think that the lane in the middle will definitely stack up with more drivers in it. If we get a situation where 3 wide occurs and that outside line gets a run, if the middle drivers feel outnumbered, all they have to do is move down to the bottom, and then that will allow them to gain their momentum to match the top. Then drivers will reform the middle for say, and that allows somebody to go to the back who was up front and somebody in the back to go even further to the front. So basically, the middle is strong with numbers, but if the middle loses its numbers, you're going to want to be in one of the other 2 lanes. And that's going to depend on who's behind you and if you have enough of an opportunity to block to get in front of that lane in time.
So based off of the INI and the number of laps for a full distance race at Talladega, it was going to originally be, I believe, 50 laps here tonight, but it's going to be 47 just based off of the INI's calculations. 2-stop race based off of the fuel numbers.
Yep.
And Monday night, we saw a fuel strategy race where Grant Wesley on fumes was able to cross the start-finish line to pick up that event. Do we maybe see a fuel strategy race here tonight? I know that the numbers right now don't really show the possibility for a fuel strategy race, but depending on where cautions fall, do we see something like that? Because this track, I believe 2 times this season in the Tally Challenge, it came down to fuel strategy.
Oh boy, I say Grant just had a moment here in practice.
It's only practice. Pull out the backup truck.
It all depends on when those yellows fall, and there is a difference between taking a half can and a can of fuel. If it comes down to a 2 can and 1.5 can, that seems to be the least notable difference. When you get between a half can and a can, there is a significant difference there. And as long as you have enough people, they don't have to be your friends, they don't have to necessarily push you to win, but you have enough people to pit on that strategy. It takes just a little less fuel than that other person. That gives you that opportunity to pull away from the pack on the final pit stop. The other thing with the pit roads, the mistakes. We saw several speeding penalties last year and several drivers run out in the last 5 laps of the race because the last pit stop, in our 2022 All-Star race, I believe, was with 5 and 4 laps to go.
We're going to be talking about pit road speed here in just a moment. Right now, drivers are in happy hour. We're about 20 seconds away from when they'll be gridding up and getting ready to take the green flag. Several drivers making attempts at those green flag pit stops, and this is an all-star race. This is a non-points event. So, if you end up trying your absolute hardest and you don't come away with a checkered flag, it doesn't sting nearly as bad because you're not losing out on points. You're not losing out on a potential playoff spot, what have you, whatever scenario it may be during the course of a season. So how anxious would you be to kind of maybe go a little bit over the edge in terms of flying down to that pit road entry in the art of hot pitting?
Well, that's definitely a risk that these drivers assume here in racing. And if you have clear track in front of you, you might go an extra 5 miles an hour in and take that risk to slam on the brake. But be warned, the more cars in front of you, the riskier that strategy gets. And this pit road, I'll tell you, it's a little bit harder for me to judge my entry on this track. It's very smooth. It has a lot of grip. In fact, it might even be a smoother entry than our V3 Talladega. The problem is, you never want to follow the car in front of you exactly to the point because you're only going to lose time and prevent yourself from getting that hot pit stop to come out in front.
We've heard a lot of drivers during the course of this past Tally Challenge season say that exact same thing, that the approach that they would have to pit road at Talladega, they've had to adjust that because it's not the same as pitting here. And this racetrack, it made its debut, race number 2 of the Tally Challenge last season, the alternation between Talladega and BSR. This track was put into very pivotal spots on the schedule. It was the regular season finale that determined our playoff grid. Of course, it was our elimination races in each one of the rounds, and then eventually was the season finale to determine the champion. So, do we look at some of the drivers that really seem to perform well during the regular season and the playoffs at this track in the Tally Challenge as some ones to watch? Some of the names that kind of jump out at me, obviously, the champion Grant Wesley, Joe DeSpirito picked up a victory here. We ended up seeing some other drivers like Brian Schilling be very dominant at tracks like this. So are these the guys that we're looking at maybe to be up here at the front of the field, or is it just such a level playing field that you can't really pick a favorite?
It will be hard to pick a favorite until that checker flag's down, but I will tell you, one person who wants to win this race badly, more than anybody else, is that guy who's in second place, right in the place where I started last year, number 38, Rodney Sullins. He is going to try all he can to keep his truck up front, stay out of trouble, and be there at the finish. He's somebody who really wants to compete and win tonight, and again, of all the names that you just mentioned, there's a good chance that that race winner is going to be in that group.
Well, Rodney Sullins coming in the defending champion of the Superspeedway series, so may be able to do that here tonight in this All-Star race. Sorry, Michael, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's all right. If I had to pick somebody, I'm actually going to go with Grant Wesley because I know what he can do in these trucks, and I know how good he is at a track like this. So my pick, if I had to pick, would be that 88 car.
Opportunity here as well for drivers in the All-Star race. We saw this in the Monday Night Speedway style All-Star race to showcase new liveries that we may end up seeing in the upcoming 59th season of the Tally Challenge. Looks like some new colors there on the Black Rifle Coffee Chevrolet of Rodney Sullins. Kelly Causey looks like a new livery for him, and for a moment, I honestly thought that number 28 of Mark Paglia was the Joker mobile. Kind of almost looks like the colors of the Joker there, the purple and the yellow.
It does, and I'll tell you, he has a really, really interesting truck, and always in that number 28 Ford. That's his favorite, and I hope that he has a good race as well.
It's funny. It's interesting how you said you thought it was Joker color because I thought it was the laughing clown colors from Talladega Nights.
Yeah, yes. I can see that too. Yep.
Chuck McClure has driven the Laughing Clown car a couple of times, particularly in our Winston Cup series.
Actually went to school Monday night, found out that all this time, didn't recognize it, but the number 39 Geico Chevrolet of Josh Metallic, that's actually a livery to Tony Kanaan.
Yes.
So Josh Metallic, a big IndyCar fan, and found out that's what that livery's from. So got that squirreled away for next season.
I like how he said went to school. I'm thinking, Seth, you've been out of school for what, 20 years now?
Yep. We're constantly learning, Michael. Life is a school.
Just calling him old. It's okay.
I laugh only because it's true. Pace car.
That's all right. I'm not that far behind you.
I'll be 28 in less than a month now.
Wow,
Oh, great. Okay.
You youngins.
You-
Hey, enjoy it while you can. You get to 30, it all goes downhill. But here we go. Bob Seminara and Rodney Sullins getting ready to get the Season 58 Super Speedway All-Star Race underway here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Flagman has the green flag in the air over the 25-car field.
Colorblind, it looked purple.
And these aren't cars, they're trucks, but I digress.
Pretty clean start. We're going to get the outside line group back together. They're led by Rodney. 5 cars really close together. We'll see what Bob decides to do. He's going to control the middle, take control.
It's
Oh, yeah,
clear for the
absolutely.
lead. Sullins going to be side by side with Roberts on that inside line. Mentioned the fact Ken Roberts won the pole. Well, didn't win the pole. Got lotto queued for the pole position in the All-Star Open and then went coast to coast, pole to win, picking up that All-Star Open victory. Got to qualify here into this All-Star race. Started up in the top 5 and going to maybe be battling for this race lead when they come around to complete lap number 1.
Yeah, we'll see the inside lane be able to stay connected for the first while here, but once these trucks get up to speed, we'll see the outside lane start to pull ahead down the straightaways.
Yeah, we got a few trucks trying to pull out right now. Brian Schilling in the number 4 Square D Dodge is trying to get a run there with Glenn Harris, Wiley Coate, and Jeremy Jeffries. They are still a ways back, but they're forming that lane and getting some numbers. It'll be interesting to see how many more trucks make that
Here we
decision
go.
to move up. We have an accident.
Wreck.
Oh, Donnie Garrett is into the inside wall hard. And
Caution's
Wiley
out.
Coate's around.
Wiley Coate, yep, Donnie Garrett. Oh, man, we just talked about him, and he's
man.
got some heavy damage on that 77.
Darn it.
Had him up in the booth for the All-Star Open. Tough sledding here in the early going for Donnie Garrett. Wiley Coate, he had a wreck on the final lap of the All-Star Open, but was able to bring it back in the 5th position for the final transfer spot. And I think a couple of other drivers got maybe bits and pieces of that. I think the 46 of Tate Dorsey might have hit the wall trying to avoid, but caution out. And unlike the Tally Challenge, where field is frozen at the time of caution, based off of drivers' meeting, all cautions are raced back here tonight. So it was a battle back to the start-finish line for that race lead. Seminara got it for the first caution of the entire night here with the All-Star Open going caution-free. Let's see if we can go back to the backstretch and find out what happened.
I'm doing that right now. As I saw, I think it might have been a ricochet. Somebody made some from the outside lane, I think, right there. Oh, yeah. Bumper grab a little bit. Dante Ricky, who's in the booth with me. Not
It's all
on the
your fault,
racetrack.
Dante, apparently.
It's all your fault, Dante. It's all your fault.
I was just
the
about to
five-
tee up, too.
The 5 of Wiley Coate, I think bumper grabbed off the back of another car and shot him down into Donnie, and it was just ensued from there. And Donnie hit that wall a ton with his, I believe that's his left front there. So that could spell an early end to Donnie's night if the damage is significant.
That's very unfortunate. It's just a tough position to be in for Donnie. I generally feel bad because he had nothing to do with the cause of that and is the biggest victim of the incident. It's really a shame to see that happen.
Oh, somebody
so
stayed.
early.
Somebody's 2 cars stay out. Tate Dorsey stayed out, but there was another truck that stayed out as well. Keith Hughes.
Right, and what I wanted to mention was one of the biggest issues that the trucks, when you get 10, 15 trucks back in line, the checkups are significant. It's a difficult feeling to describe until you've experienced it. When you start to get back in line, the lines start to get zigzag and checked up. The interesting thing is there was a bigger checkup in the bottom line in that situation. It looked like everybody in the bottom caught the car in front of them. The unfortunate deal on the top is those vehicles were pulling away with more speed, could not get lined up properly, and that's unfortunately what caused the incident. I am hearing from the race administration that the call is a racing deal, and the driver will be charged with that. That's what I'm being told right now.
I'm not too sure if they shut the engine off on that number 77 truck. He might have gotten away with something. I mean, we know how durable these trucks are, as the sign guy just got obliterated.
I may not have shut the engine off, but with the impact there, I would be shocked if there's not some kind of maybe aero damage that would have him a couple miles per hour off. Might need to have somebody behind him to stay in the draft.
Yeah, what's the average RPM for a non-damaged truck? If you had to guess, Dante.
82, 8200 maybe, a little over 8,000.
Well, I meant idling.
Oh, idling? That would, I mean, when they shut the engine, it would probably go to 0 in the truck. But idling, it's around 1.15.
Yeah, because
I
I think
believe.
that was about where I saw his
Okay.
his. That's where about where I saw his gauge while he was on pit road was about 1.5. So
Yeah.
he might be okay. Just a little bit of aero damage.
Right. As long as he didn't hit the clutch or anything in there, I think that, it's a moderate, I believe. It's a moderate race tonight. Aerodynamics, though, do take a punch. I mean, I've hit in the back of the truck and gotten nothing, and I've hit right up by the engine and gotten 10-mile-an-hour loss. The damage factor does play a role into it, and anything that you get could end up making you draft dependent and needing somebody behind you to make an advance to the front. So it gets very, very critical with damages, and it's just, I feel so bad for Donnie, man. That's not the right place to be, and it's unfortunate.
In an all-star race with no points on the line, drivers more inept to maybe try and go for some unorthodox strategies. Saw Keith Hughes and Tate Dorsey stay out, and they come down pit road here under the second lap of caution. Based off of that replay, looked like it was Wiley Coate and Glenn Harris that had the bumper grab. And I want to go back to a point that you were mentioning there, Dante, with the drivers and the chain bumping. Now, I've not had the opportunity to race with you guys here in the Tally Challenge at this racetrack, but I did get introduced to this racetrack and the type of racing it brings a couple of weeks ago. Is it safe to say that there is a little bit more opportunity to suck up to somebody here than there is at Talladega, and that just makes the chain bumping all that more prevalent?
I would say so because you have wider lanes of travel, and in general, you don't necessarily have much of a pinch down of the bottom lane because the middle lane's so easy to control. You get a smoother line on exit. A smoother line on exit allows more draft up because when people start missing their lines, they lose more speed, and while they pull up faster, then they got to lift up. So people get more confident with the chain bumping in a track like BSR as compared to Talladega, where the close quarters and the closing rate's a little faster there. Here, it's all about pure speed.
Interesting looking at the drivers list of those that were locked in and the criteria of which they were locked in with. You got a lot of drivers that stand out that we've seen go to victory lane quite often at super speedways. Our own Dante Ricky here, been to victory lane 3 times at super speedways in the last 2 seasons. Chuck McClure 5 times, Josh Metallic 6. Only 1 driver's in the double digits. That's Grant Wesley, 12 wins at super speedways, and we saw him get it done at a speedway as well earlier on this week in the Speedway All-Star race. So in an all-star race, I know that obviously there's alliances on the racetrack, there's friendships on the racetrack, and there's that always, if you see a driver is fast or you know a driver is fast, you want to work with them because that in turn makes you fast. But do you in an all-star race maybe put all that aside and say, hey, this guy's got championships at super speedways, this guy's got race wins at super speedways, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he's in my rearview mirror. I'm not working with him tonight.
That does happen often, Seth and Mike, and the big thing about it is as long as you keep that RTG mentality, that race clean mentality, as long as there's no blood or any battle scars, everybody will be happy with you afterwards, no matter what you got to do. A couple weeks ago, you saw it live on FRN. I pulled a ridiculous block on Grant Wesley. You remember that? That had to be completely crazy. And I know the live broadcast missed it, but that was a very tense moment during the race for all of us, and it was scary. I mean, I had to swerve the steering wheel in a direction I never wanted to. But hey, that was the mentality that wins a race, and I guarantee you that if that was somebody's closest friend, you all get along as long as you keep it clean and it comes out to be a fair move. You're not like putting them in the fence or anything. I mean, that's what it's going to take to win this race and declare yourself a champion.
A lot of drivers dive onto pit road there.
Yeah.
About a good dozen drivers at this
Thinking
1
of
to
the
green.
Strategy, it's about 40 to go, 42 to go.
Yeah, right now
That's
I've
a
got them
stretch.
about 3 laps short of making it the rest of the way, even if they could stretch it the 19 average laps that we know that is usually the number we're given on a tank of fuel for 2 runs.
Well, how many caution laps have we ran?
3, I think.
Yeah, I think about 3. So if you get an average of 3 caution laps per caution, and we get more cautions, those 3 laps could kind of fall away as well.
Yeah,
Right.
that's a good point.
Comparing to someone on the track, though, I would have to think that the people who topped off, if there's a quick yellow here, they'll probably stay out. If it's a few laps in, though, there won't be much benefit just because of the cycle of things. So
Well, it looks like they got Donnie's car mostly repaired, so I guess now we'll wait and see if he's running about front half of the field. So I guess we got to wait and see how it's going to be when you get up to speed.
Well, 24 cars took the green flag. I thought it was 25, miscounted. 24 cars took the green to
Wow.
start this race, and all 24 will take the green flag for this restart, all still on the lead lap. Same front row we had for the opening lap. Seminara on the bottom, Rodney Sullins on the top, waiting on the flagman, and we are back underway here at BSR. Ooh, little stack up there on that
stack
top
up.
line.
Oh, man.
I remember when I could count.
Let's go allow the
Not even
bottom
gonna touch that.
Don't lie. I'm sure you had something. I'm sure you had something planned to say.
Top line's formed pretty well there. There was a bit of a gap from the third truck on the inside line there, Kelly Causey, back to Bobby Farrell, and you're seeing the result of that here down the back straightaway. Top two gonna get clear. Roberts alongside of DeSpirito for third place, and three wide. Chuck McClure jumping up there to the top line with help from Tim Nofsker and Mark Paglia.
Yeah, that's a good time to make that move up to the top early and confident. You can get those numbers to you and really gain a few positions in the first few laps after the restart. That gives you the opportunity to draft up to somebody who wants to come up near the front and make it work. The concern, though, is if somebody is to pull up in front of Chuck McClure right now, that would give the bottom line a pretty significant reformation advantage going down the backstretch. So I expect somebody to try that. It doesn't look like that they're close enough to really benefit from it, but Grant Wesley planned for that move. You see that? He planned for that move to go to the bottom because he anticipated that the middle would disappear when the top line forms.
Alongside Ken Roberts for third place is Grant Wesley. Looked like that 92 Bobby Farrell might have just clipped the apron there going into turn 3, but he'll pull back to the bumper of Joe DeSpirito, and that third line continues to move. We've seen this middle line take on two aspects here at BSR. It's been a line that moves if you can get them all lined up, but if things get spread out, it turns into what super speedways are known for the middle line, that sucker hole, and drags you to the back. We can see Kelly Causey and John Godfrey, they're both starting to free fall back outside of the top 10 now.
I also want to point out we might have spoke a little too soon for Donnie Garrett, as he looks to be about a couple miles per hour, a little slower here. He's running about 195. Everyone else is running about 198.
Oh, man. I see that there by going. It unfortunately might be one of those draft-dependent situations for Donnie Garrett, in which he's going to need another quick yellow to reformat and try and get in front of a few trucks and make it work. But now, if I remember correctly, didn't he kind of restart in the middle of the pack?
Yeah, I think he restarted 13th, if I recall correctly.
I hope he could keep up.
Wiley Coate also took a pretty good hit with his right front into the outside wall, and our only caution of the evening so far, and he's trying to stay latched on to the tail end of the pack there, right behind Glenn Harris, who
Here
was
comes the top.
runner-up in our All-Star Open. Yes, indeed. Boy, they are formed up there, and boy, they're chain bumping up there too. Good forward momentum. Nofsker and Chuck McClure, they just lost Richard Martin in the 43. We'll see if that stifles out their momentum or not. Now the inside line starts to forge ahead through 3 and 4.
Oh, somebody got really loose on the inside there coming out of turn
Dorsey.
4.
I don't know if he got his left front down there on the yellow line, or if he got a little bump from behind by Brian Schilling, but nice save there by driver 46.
Yeah, if you tag an apron off of turn 4, it's a little more forgiving. Tagging the apron off of turn 2, though, could be a major, major problem tonight. It is a little bit more room, though, at the BSR track off of 2 than at Talladega. At Talladega, that inside lane is significantly more narrow, and it becomes a priority for that car on the bottom to keep his lane off the corner, you know? So that's going to be a concern. Usually when people see a truck that you know, clips the apron, we usually give a lot of room. We usually level off, we try to regroup, and gain that line back some momentum once again. Very close corner racing, even in the back of the pack as well. The two Toyotas there, the 27 of Andre Monjon and Doug Holick, the 23. in a 3 wide situation. They almost made contact off of 4, but they seem to have regrouped it and are continuing their way forward.
I asked the question earlier about could we see a fuel strategy race here tonight. It was with the 23 of Doug Kulik in mind. The very first race here at BSR under the Tally Challenge series. It was only about 100 feet that Doug Kulik had to make from his pit stall to the start-finish line to receive the caution and pick up his first career victory in the Tally Challenge. So obviously this track's got a very special place for him, and still up here in this lead pack. Yeah, running at the tail end of the pack here, but still, you got to be in the lead pack to be able to have a shot at winning, and just ride around, preserve your equipment, be there at the end.
And I'll tell you what, those Toyota trucks, they are fast. You got Grant Wesley, Doug Kulik, and Andre Monjon. The Toyotas, they're great equipment, and I'm
Seems
surprised
like somebody else I know
won
won in a Toyota this past
That's a good
season.
point. That's a good point. I
Wonder who
who
that
it
was.
Yeah, I really wonder who that was. Might have a bulldog on it.
Yeah, I think you're right. Might have one of my favorite beverages sponsoring that. Who knows?
Oh, mug root beer? Yeah, that tastes pretty good. Who drives that car?
I don't know. We'll try and see if we can figure that out here during the course of this race.
That would be me, of course.
Middle line. That's where everybody's moved to now. Inside line, only one truck with Kelly Causey. Outside line's kind of evaporated a bit there with Richard Martin and Josh Metallic trying to get some drivers up there with him. Chuck McClure, Tim Nofsker there as well. Looks like, at least for the moment, top 5, 6, 7, they're just kind of content to ride right now, so might be preparing for a green flag pit stop here. We'll certainly get an idea of when that green flag pit stop would be coming around, because they will abandon that middle line and dive right down to the yellow line, taking the low line around the racetrack.
That's right. Things have really settled down at this point. Now you have the game of controlling the middle lane, and in this type of situation, you get about 7th or 8th place there, around the 28 of Mark Paglia and the 39 of Josh Metallic. The car that's in the truck that's in a tough spot right now is Mark Paglia. He can make a move in any direction, but if he makes the wrong move or doesn't make the move at the right time, he will basically not advance. You know what I mean? To a further position. It's a hard spot to be in where Mark Paglia and John Godfrey are, because there's very little power in controlling your own fate in that position. Because they can go to the bottom and go to the back. They can go to the top and go to the back, or they can sit there and go nowhere. It's really hard to make things work until the trucks in front of you begin to make moves. That's what's going to allow them to finally pull away.
Like now, drivers are starting to try and find places in line from that top side. And Andre Mahjong jumped down there. Chuck McClure jumped down to the middle line. Josh Metallic. Nofsker just now finding a spot in line. We'll see if the 39 is able to tuck in front of him. Had a couple drivers further back trying to make a top line work with Tate Dorsey and I believe that was Terry Bombard, but doesn't look like they're going to be going anywhere soon as Rodney Sullins continues to show the way. Obviously, all these drivers here tonight with an opportunity of winning this all-star race. Want to shout out some drivers that were not able to make it here tonight that would have qualified in as well. Bernie Mobbs, also Frank Rivard, Nate Balser, David Lawson, Sean Prime. Those drivers, should they have been here tonight, they would have been locked into this all-star race as well via a Superspeedway win in the past 2 seasons. But up here at the front, got Rodney Sullins, who 2 out of the 3 Talladega Challenge seasons, the last Talladega Challenge seasons, was inside the Final 4 competing for the championship. Now, he does have a victory, and that was, of course, what got him into this all-star race, along with his championship in the Superspeedway series on Tuesday nights. But let's not forget that that victory that he had in the Tally Challenge, he finished 2nd place. The eventual called race winner was given a post-race EOL, and so Rodney Sullins was declared the winner. And he's told us, I want to get a win on my own merit. I don't want to have it be a post-race penalty with the guy that crossed the line ahead of me. So I have a feeling that if it comes down to it, he's going to make that back bumper as wide as possible.
Told them for a while to get single file, but now they're trying to get an inside lane formed here, and it's only going to be a little bit to see, but the outside lane has more cars.
We're definitely going to have pit stops for a few drivers within the next 5 laps, maybe around 22, 23. The folks that did not pit there in the first yellow will likely make it into the pit road soon. They got a couple extra caution laps of fuel to save, but at the same time, this will be a a rather spread out pit stop cycle compared to a normal pit stop cycle where everybody's on the same strategy.
I'd say based off calculations, about lap 23 is the furthest that drivers that came to pit road on the first lap of that caution period would be able to go. Certainly Rodney Selmans would be on that number since he's been out in front for most of this run, using up that fuel, creating the draft for the drivers behind him. Wesley going to jump down to the inside. I would say most of those drivers that dove onto pit lane at the 1 to green, they could probably go as far as lap 25, maybe lap 26 before they'd have to dive onto pit lane.
There's the inside lane with Grant Wesley.
Greg Palmer going to move in there with him. Highest the 22's been here tonight. Bob Seminara, the pole sitter, third on that inside line. Now, for Grant Wesley, was that a move to take the race lead, or was that a move to get himself positioned on that inside line so that way he doesn't fall back any further when everybody else starts to make that migration down to the bottom?
I would say that was more strategy to get to the bottom because he also had that 22 of Greg Palmer tucked up real close to him, and that line was definitely moving. I would say that if Rodney could have gotten to the bottom there, he would have. At that exact moment, it would be hard to tell if Rodney was clear, though, and Rodney doesn't want to make a move that's unsafe. He wants to keep himself in the best position.
Well, he had a bit of a gap right there if he wanted to do it, but he just wasn't quite clear.
Right.
Comes the 43 back up in here.
I want to give Greg Palmer a shout out. The last time I broadcasted, I feel like I didn't mention him enough. I've met Greg in person before, and he's an amazing man and just really, really experienced across several leagues here in our community between Open Speedway and RTG and a few others also over the years. I've known him for a long time by his name, Rocket.
I think when he watches his broadcast back, he's going to ask you to shout him out more because you shot him out and he's going to the front.
That's always a good sign. And right over there in Delaware, as we have some trucks exiting the pit road.
Wiley Coaten, the 5, who had already lost the draft. That car
Wiley,
struck a little off the pace. Close
I'll
there.
Tell you, that's a situation we've spoken about several drivers' meetings. Not to say anybody did anything wrong there. The number 5 truck had the right to come onto the track. If I was in his position, I would have just come on the track and taken that spot before Greg Palmer got there. The car coming on the track has to make his merge decision clear before, and it looks like we're going to have some pit stops here coming up.
Donnie Garrett going a lap down there in the 77.
Wonder how many cars are going to choose to hot pit over being conservative.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the All-Star Open about drivers maybe just to make sure that they were going to still be in the running by the end of the race and avoid maybe having to serve a pass-through for speeding or something, maybe playing a little bit more conservative in terms of coming to pit lane. But then at the same time, when it's a non-points event, you know, maybe you do go a little bit extra and try and see what you can get. So we'll see who goes on the aggressive side, who goes on the conservative side. We'll see if anybody's going to have hands out the window this time. This is around the point when drivers that had come to pit road on the first lap of caution under the first yellow would more than likely have to come to pit lane.
That's right. Yellow flags here can really throw a wrench in the strategy. No takers that time.
Wow. Honestly, I thought the 38 was going to have to be one. But...
yeah, they have to be coming in within the next lap or two.
Double wide all the way back there, too, and it's quite possible that we're going to see drivers from that second line maybe try and dive onto pit road, too, so that is going to really be hairy in terms of kind of like highway traffic, trying to get from the shoulder lane over to an exit, perhaps. We'll see if these drivers are going to be able to do it. Spirito's going to jump down to the inside line here, so he'll have a pretty good avenue to pit road. I'm not seeing radios lighting up yet either. I guess they're going to go another lap unless they're playing their cards close to the chest and not letting us know. Nope, they're staying out an extra lap here. So
I really wonder how many people stayed out on that first yellow, but at the same time, I
think only 2 trucks stayed out in the first caution.
Okay.
Well, no, they didn't even stay out. They stayed out one lap, and then they both came to pit road in Hughes and Tate Dorsey. So everybody pitted under the last yellow, but there was about 1, 2, 3 lap separation between these drivers. So I thought we'd see a little more separation and when they'd make the green flag pit stops. Maybe not, though.
Well, I mean, a quarter lap under caution, of a green flag lap, that is. So 4 caution laps, you probably wouldn't even burn a full green lap of fuel. Like, not even close. So they could really save somewhere in the ballpark of 3 to 5 laps under a yellow.
I think they're coming pit road this time.
Oh,
Here
yeah.
we go. Big group. And remember, if there's an incident here below that yellow line, no caution would come out to save them unless it came back up onto the racing surface, but they all make it onto pit road nicely. About 8-9 trucks on pit road this time.
Came in conservatively, too. Don't want to take that chance.
But McClure's going to inherit the race lead as a result. Ken Roberts staying out an extra lap along with John Godfrey. One would have to assume that these drivers will be on pit road this next time by. I'm going to be interested to see about the 39 of Josh Metallic, because he was the first truck that I saw dart to pit road at the 1 to green under that last caution period. I wonder if he's going to come to pit road this time with a group, or if he's going to stay out yet another lap. I think that's the answer. Swung way wide. Oh, nope, never
Close
mind.
call on the exit pit road
Oh,
there, but
Doug
everybody's
Hewlick.
clear.
Hewlick and
Incident.
Glenn Harris, and it's wadded up on pit road. Andre Mahjong got hit from behind by Keith Hughes. Brian Schilling got a hit.
We'll see how many of these. Mark Paglia came into the grass. We'll see if maybe he gets a 30-second penalty for that.
And sometimes those hits can shoot you over the 55-mile-per-hour speed limit, so we'll see if anybody ends up getting hit by the speeding police as a result of that stack up at pit road entry.
Yeah, it looked like the 10 car, Terry Bombard, got in the back of the 23 of Hulick. And again, it's a tough position to be in because of the following rate and the fast close-up. It just stacks us up on the pit road entry. And with no yellow in that situation, that's the way it goes. But we will have a few people who lose the draft as a result.
Battle up here potentially for the race lead.
Wow, look at this going faster. Pub Seminaro with 2-car tandem just went by that group of 3.
Caught Greg Palmer right there through the tri-oval. Grant Wesley looked like he was committed to the 22, and to your point, Michael, 7-12-24 never lifted. Went to the inside line of the tri-oval, but don't know if they're going to cycle out to the lead because McClure, Jeffries, Metallic, they're currently ahead of the 7-12 and the 24. It may be Chuck McClure who cycles out to the front when all is said and done, but that 7-12 is up to speed and's got good momentum, so let's see who leads this lap.
I have been told from the administrators that the number 28, that Mark Paglia, has been charged with a pit road incident during that cycle green flag pit stops. So the 28 car will either be serving a penalty or will be retiring for the night. And by coming in the pit road at 90 miles an hour, it looks like he is done for tonight.
There is Paglia. Tough break there for Mark Paglia in that Texaco Haviland Ford F-Series. Having a good run up inside of the top 10, the first portion of this race, but pit road just as treacherous as the racetrack itself. We've seen that so many times here, whether it be Talladega, whether it be Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Obviously, there's disappointment that you aren't able to finish out the event. Is there a difference in disappointment, though, when it's an all-star race as opposed to an event where you're earning points and there's a championship at the end of the season?
Depending on the nature of what occurred, there's a significant more disappointment factor. And the relation that I can explain to everyone was the 2021 All-Star race, where the last lap was one of the craziest I ever participated in my career at RTG. I come off of turn 4, 3 wide in the middle, and maybe 7th place. The top 2 crash. I barely swerved control of my car to miss a spinning car up the track. I end up on the apron near the pit road entrance, and unfortunately, I also run a significant steering assist, Seth and Michael. You know what I'm talking about? And you're on the apron there near the pit road entrance. What's going to happen if you don't get back up on the track? Well, you're going to get pulled down the pit road. So my only choice is to swipe the wheel right, and when I do that, I literally, the only way I can get control is to let off the gas pedal. Unfortunately, as a result, I have no control over this. I have to door the number, at the time, the number 8 of Jeremy Jeffries and put him into Chuck McClure. Both of them immediately were happy frustrated, but at the same time, the incident got charged on me and I was not able to keep the win. It was by far one of the most frustrating situations to have to be in as a driver, and it was extremely disappointing. If it had been a regular season race, I don't think I would have been as mad unless it was championship. But being an all-star race, you know, you generally think that stuff like that gets overlooked. There's still a standard that has to be kept, and that's to keep the race fair and clean and exciting. So there is more of a frustration factor, but with time, you learn those differences, and you just kind of learn from that experience, you know?
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
something that I was thinking about here was, you know, we talk about drivers near the end of a season, you know, if they end up getting a victory or consecutive top fives or obviously a championship, one would think that's going to give them good momentum heading into the upcoming season. Well, the intermediate part is this all-star race event, whether it be Speedway style or here tonight with the Superspeedway style. If we end up having a driver go to victory lane here tonight, do we eventually look at them to maybe carry that momentum into the Tally Challenge, into the Super Speedway series, you know, into any future Super Speedway races here on the upcoming season 59 schedules?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say that any race win is a complete, it's a plus, and it's not by accident, okay? You do the best you can to win that race, and you learn from that and take that experience forward with you to try and win the next one. And we have seen people come out to the All-Star race for the first time, and, you know, usually our most experienced drivers win these, but I was really happy that John Godfrey won that race in 2021. And he took advantage of my misfortune, but that allowed him to get his name on the board and get into the next two races like tonight, and also to get some more wins of his own in the series that he runs. So he's really built a name for himself, not only for that All-Star win, but also getting to work with other drivers, and the experiences that he earns has really helped him to this point.
You know, Seth, you heard my driver I chose. Who are you looking at for this race?
I can't pick somebody because
That's
every time
that's a
I
lie,
have
and you
somebody
know it.
in my head this past season of Tally Challenge, somebody else ends up popping up there that I didn't even have a thought of. So
Oh, you
I
have to
don't
take
have a
guess.
driver.
You have to take a guess. There's no getting
Nope.
around it.
Nope, we've been able to dodge the commentator's curse a couple of times. I'm not rekindling that.
Well, I'm still with my number 38 of Rodney Sullins. He's up in the lead draft. He's in the top line, and this is a point in the race where now you have Greg Palmer and Grant Wesley, and also Josh Metallic trying to get together here to overtake Chuck McClure, Bob Seminara, and Joe DeSpirito. But at the same time, they really want to get that number advantage up top so that they can get the dominant control at some point. A few other people haven't mentioned Kelly Causey, double L, right up in there right now. And he's also he's done an awful lot for the community between his leagues and the special event races that he's hosted as well. So I'm really happy to see Buckshot up here at the same time keep pushing it hard too. And you can't forget about Jeremy Jeffries.
Jeremy Jeffries, of course, was in the playoffs for the Tally Challenge. He won, I believe it was 3 of the 5 championships. This a couple of seasons ago, I think it was season 58. He ended up winning the Bare Bones Championship. He ended up winning the Aero 88 Championship. He wanted to win the Tally Challenge Championship, but came up just short. And boy, these guys are pinching a little bit here.
They're getting close.
Well, we're
Not a lot of room
approaching
being given here.
We're approaching 10 laps to go with a possible another pit stop.
Yeah, we still got one more pit stop coming up here. Now based off of how far they were able to go that last run, I had them projected about 5 laps short on fuel. Now, if they can actually go as far this run as they did on the previous, they'd be somewhere in the vicinity of about 3 laps short on fuel.
Well,
so
that's the exact situation from last year's race.
Oh boy.
And I will tell you that I didn't want to be the last group to pit, but we spread the pit stops across either 2 or 3 laps. And I want to say that the third group was the group that had the most calamity. It may have been because there were more trucks pitting that particular lap, but the race winner is going to pit the lap with the fewest cars, unless it's a complete. Let's say, we have 10 people in the lead pack right now. If it's 1 and 9, the winner will be in the second group, obviously. But if it's like 4 and 6, I think one of the 4 trucks on the lap with fewer wins the race. And there's going to be 2 reasons for that. There might be a difference in the fuel taken. It's also going to be a cleaner entry. All right. Preferably, the smaller group should pit first, and the bigger group should pit second. for that to ideally be true. But that's my call for the end. If we go green, now there's nothing that's going to guarantee we go green all the way to the finish. In fact, this is a racetrack, Seth and Mike, that has a very high number, as I see some close racing here with Grant Wesley, a very high number of debris cautions. And I don't know what the reason is for that, but I mean, it's just something to keep in mind in your cookbook here when you want to BSR.
I don't know if this has anything to do with it, but I have heard about that taking place at other racetracks. Something about when if a driver comes down pit road, pulls into their pit stall, and is taking service when they then retire from the race. For some reason, that sometimes will bring out those phantom yellows.
I'll tell you what, as an admin, that is one of my largest pet peeves. It's such a pet peeve that if we were to write a rule in the rule book discouraging this and penalizing it, people would do it. And that's why we don't put it in the rule book. But let it be known, every time that happens in a race that I participate in, Seth and Mike, I keep a very detailed notebook that goes back to 2020 at least, from the time I've been here at RTG. I note that in my book. And then it gets to the point, we pull you in the room with David Cannon, and oh yeah, you're in trouble.
Don't want to go to the principal's office.
That's right.
Now we, I believe, have, by my last count, 11 trucks up in this lead pack. We showed you moments ago the second group, which is 10 drivers. That is 12th back through 20th, and Brian Schilling was last leading that group. Those drivers right now, they need a caution. It doesn't matter what kind of pit strategy you play out. If you don't have a yellow flag to get you up here with this lead pack, your all-star race hopes of that checkered flag are basically over. So they are just trying to keep themselves at least in close proximity, hope that a yellow flag comes out to save their race. That's what kind of surprised me just a tad with these drivers racing as close as they are up here, because one would think they would realize the situation and say, hey, I got better odds, a 1 in 10 chance of taking a checkered flag than a 1 in 21. Let's not get those guys back up here.
Right, and the thing is that the second group led by Brian Schilling has gained in the half-second ballpark per lap within the last 3 laps. I'm interested to see what happens this time, but quite honestly, they're not closing in enough to make it there before the pit stop. It would be, they would have to make a conscious effort right now. I just think they're too far back, really, at this point. They're going to need a caution at the right time to get back into it. That's my view of it. So if I'm in the lead group knowing that, without telling them, I think it's a safe group to race it up. But there is a little bit of gain from the second group. It's not on the order of a second per lap. It's more on the order of a half second per lap. There's another 0.45 there that they gained.
Look what we're seeing right now. 4 trucks in that middle line are producing just as much speed as 8 trucks on that outside line.
They're trying. They are trying.
Everyone is at full strength right now. It's in that lead group, that's for sure. And I think that what it comes down to is the lines are in slightly different positions than the white lane marker. The actual grip lanes are moved a little bit, but the top line does have to get the left side tires under that lane marker to really gain a run. And it's not easy because you don't want to pinch down the bottom line. You see how Greg Palmer leading that top line kind of puts the wheels below it? That's where the grip is. That's what he has to do to make his run in there. Because on Talladega, there's actually 2 middle lanes in the default of the track. Even though that we give the middle more room, this does allow a little better racing for it. And now the lines appear fairly even though that the outside line has more numbers.
All right, well, Dante, I know you've been a part of fuel strategy races. I'm going to pose a question to you here because these guys right now look like, based off of their last pit stop, they're going to start having to think about coming to pit road around lap 44. That's about 3.5 laps away from the conclusion of this race. If there's a scenario where a caution comes out right around that point, is it possible, if you're even down to maybe just a gallon of fuel left, can you clutch enough with a gallon of fuel for 3 pace laps to be able to get back to the checkered flag, or would you absolutely have to pit?
This situation sounds a lot like the time that Grant Wesley had less than a pound at a checkered flag one time under caution. I don't remember the exact number of laps, but if you can get the 5 to go and get the lead to yellow in an all-star race, that is one of the strategies that I think someone would be willing to take the risk and clutch it, even if they're 6 and under. I would say if the yellow came out with 5 to go and you somehow maintain 6 pounds, you could take the 4 lap to go still with 6 or 5 pounds, if that was the case, and make it to the finish there comfortably on the clutch. Now, if you get to the 3-pound level, you'll probably make it 2 or 3 laps under yellow. You know what I'm saying? So if you need to maintain a fuel pressure of at least 5 pounds taking that yellow if you're going to coast it around and assuming the race doesn't go back green again.
I'm not sure if Bob Seminara or Greg Palmer would be able to adopt that strategy since they were both leading their respective lines for a good portion of this run, so they would be the lowest on fuel. Seminara's led 17 laps of this all-star race already, 9 laps led apiece for Greg Palmer and Rodney Sullins, and then 2 laps led for Joe DeSpirito. Chuck McClure, Grant Wesley, and Keith Hughes have taken a turn out in front as well. Also, just to kind of bring up to speed, we didn't document this, but he was involved in the pit road stack up under that first round of green flag pit stops. Andre Mahjong also out of the race, joining Mark Paglia. So we've got 22 drivers still on the racetrack, 20 of them currently on the lead lap as we are at less than 5 to go. So the question is, are we racing to the pit stop? Are we racing to a potential caution? Do these drivers even know what we're racing to?
We do have drivers come on the pit road this time in the lead group. Some of the second group peeled off the previous lap. They're pulling out of the pit. Very interesting here. The first group is coming. Let's count the car numbers and see how many people make it in. Looks like about 4 or 5 are coming.
Here's the money stop for potentially the all-star race win. Looks like everybody with the exception of McClure and Jeffries of the lead lap cars coming in this time. Seminara locked up that right front, went off into the grass. Now he gets back on, but he's going to lose some position there, even on pit road to the 88 of Grant Wesley.
Man, mistakes can be costly, and Bob has that first pit stall. So
if that helps him.
This is where he has to decide if he wants to take a fuel risk, and if he has that chance to take less fuel, he will. But he can't lose much more because he's got to get into his pit stall. I'm not even sure he got service there.
And yeah, looks like they topped him off. The thing with that first pit stall, drivers love it. Oh, got some contact. Rodney Sullins and Kelly Causey got together. I think there might have been wheel spin by Kelly Causey, upshifting from first to second gear, and he slid into the 38 of Rodney Sullins. No caution.
Jeremy Jeffries, Chuck McClure have made it to pit road.
For real. I mean,
wow, Nostra came
closer.
flying in. So did Brian Schilling.
I'm keeping my eyes on some of this back here. Keep an eye on Grant Wesley now here too. Stays out trying to see the whole cycle around. It's always the pit stops that make it the most exciting. And honestly, because you never know who's going to come out where, and always remember their black flags are still in play. Instead, I believe we've just passed the point of no return. So.
You talked about the black flags, Michael. I just saw on the relative Ken Roberts speeding on pit road on this final pit stop. So he will not complete the double down here in this all-star night. He won the Open, but he will not win the all-star races. There you see McClure getting his doors blown off there, trying to get back up to speed. Wesley, after all is said and done, may cycle out to the lead. Let's see what happens when they catch the one. Nope, actually, Joe DeSpirito says, no, sir, he's going to jump up to the top of the metallic.
That's going to help Jeremy catch this group a little bit better as opposed to having them lined up. Jeremy had an excellent pit stop, just did not have the numbers coming out of the pit road to make it work for him. I was hopeful the smaller group would pay off, but they just didn't come out close enough.
Going to be 2 laps to go this time by. DeSpirito, the leader, Metallic into second. Greg Palmer right now in the third spot. They're side by side for fourth. Bobby Farrell and Grant Wesley. Looks like 6, maybe 7 drivers will battle this out if Jeremy Jeffries can latch on to the tail end of this group. Single file right now here with 1.5 to go down the backstretch.
It's like DW always said, you're not just going to pull out a car and pass them. You got to have cars to go with them, so you've got to make your move soon. With this little cars in this pack, it's going to be hard to make a move.
And if you're in moment over comms, we heard, I'll bet the comms are lighting up like crazy right now.
If you're in Bob Seminara's spot, maybe the right move is to stay. We'll see.
We'll see. White flag going to be displayed this time by, I don't think Jeffries is going to catch up in time. So there'll be 7 drivers from DeSpirito back to John Godfrey to settle it out here on the final lap of the Season 8 Super Speedway style All-Star race. It's Palmer making the move for second.
Got to go to the inside. Metallic's got to go to the inside. There's too many cars on the inside.
Grant Wesley's down there. Bobby Farrell is down there. Seminara's going to go to the top. I
Yep.
thought he was thinking 3 wide for a moment there with John Godfrey. Might be dead even between the 22 and the 24 if Palmer can get a shove. Despirito's
gotta go.
still clear.
4 outside, 3 inside.
Josh can't get clear of the 22 yet. It looks good at this point, but let's see.
Palmer
I
looking
think the
for a
middle's going to be
push.
strong here.
Espirito's clear. He can move down if that inside line gets any momentum. Metallic peeking up high. Tries to get to the right rear. You're going to be 3 wide for second, but it's Joe Despirito handily going to win the
And then they
All-Star
go.
race here tonight at BSR.
What an incredible race, and to see Joe pull that off in just cool, calm, and collected fashion, man.
And it's looking like Jeremy Jeffries, he actually, I didn't even notice it until now, he actually had gotten a speeding penalty as well in the one truck. So even if he had gotten up into this lead group, he would have been a non-factor since he was under penalty. But Joe Despirito, one of the best in the business of keeping driving in his rearview mirror. When he gets out in front, he had them 3 wide behind him through the tri-oval, but no line was able to get a run. And Despirito, by virtue, as Dante said, with an All-Star race victory, he's now locked into the next 2 seasons All-Star races with this victory tonight.
Yeah, I've got to say that his ability to keep the truck up front, keep it clean, and when we talk about track position, he maintained his position in the front of the pack most of the laps tonight, and that's what got it done. Pitting in the group with more numbers because the greater numbered group of cars pitted first instead of last. So our pit distribution was backwards from last year in the sense of how it played out in terms of the total number of cars making the green flag pit stop there. But it was at about the same time, interesting enough.
But we can usually, in these super speedway races, go back to a point as the winning move, that move that Joe Despirito made around the outside of Grant Wesley on the back straightaway after the pit road cycle had been completed. I think that right there was the move that got Despirito out in front and able to play defense for the final 2 laps of this race as he burns it down there in front of these fans at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. And we will show you here the finishing results. Josh Metallic bringing it home in second, Greg Palmer third, Bob Seminara and Grant Wesley there in 4th and 5th. John Godfrey and Bobby Farrell were the other drivers up there in that lead pack with a chance of winning this race. Nofsker, Schilling, and Terry Bombard going to complete the top 10. Terry, the highest finishing of the drivers that transferred in via the All-Star Open earlier on tonight. Jeremy Jeffries -1. That's based off of the penalty that he was under. Donnie Garrett with early damage at the very beginning of this All-Star race. Ken Roberts, who had to serve a pass-through late in the going, and Wiley Coate all off the lead lap. Not certain what happened with Kelly Causey. Oh, I believe actually the contact maybe with him and Rodney Sullins off of pit road might be why he retired out of the race late. And then Andre Mahjong and Mark Paglia did not reach the conclusion of this one either, as we now head into our post-race wind down, the All-Star race for season 58. Super Speedway style is in the books, and it's time to get a word with our podium finishers here tonight. Let's see if we can kick things off with the guy that brings it home third place this evening, driver the number 22, Greg Palmer. Hey, Greg, it's Dante, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey, good evening, guys.
Wild race here tonight. We saw you out in front for 8 circuits this evening, up there when it mattered the most in the closing stages, but boy, a lot of drivers with a lot of different agendas there in those final 2 laps, trying to find drafting partners. What little more do you need there to be able to get this 22 splitter to be the first one back to the stripe?
About another quarter inch on my gas pedal.
Now, obviously, we had a lot of questions here tonight. With this being an all-star race, being a non-points event, would we see more aggression out of drivers, especially in terms of that final pit stop? Would we see aggression? Would we see conservative to try and avoid getting a late race penalty? I mean, which side were you on? Did you view this as a race where you were able to kind of go above the normal aggression level with no points on the line, or did you treat this as if this was a regular league race with that mentality?
I had to go with aggression. I had to go with Josh and Grant and even Bobby Farrell. I wanted to pit when they pitted because they were always in the front. So I stayed with them, stayed a little aggressive. That's why you saw me go out to the outside, take the lead a couple of times. I just wanted to be in the game, and I wanted to be there at the end.
Yeah, it was quite an interesting race there. The last little bit of pit stops always got to be careful getting into pit road. What was the difference between wanting to hot pit or taking it conservative coming into pit road this time?
Um, just trying to really be conservative and not lock up my brakes and spin out or hit another car and being tossed. You know what I mean? So it worked out. I was conservative, went over the line, pitted, and I came out with the guys. Yeah, I came out with the leaders.
Hey, Greg, it's Dante Ricky, your old friend. How you doing, man?
How you
Good to
doing there,
see ya.
Mr. West Virginia?
Oh, very good. I'm eating very well. I'll tell you that. We had a Charlie's Philly cheesesteak today for lunch, and still finishing that. But hey, you led 8 laps tonight, and a lot of them were from the outside lane. And like you said, you stayed with everybody. Tell me what made that outside line so strong in the racetrack tonight, because it seemed as if that was the lane that got the advantage at the end of the race.
That's what it looked like when I went up to the top. I saw them coming, but early in the race, they would go up to the outside, they would fade, and I was just waiting for more cars, more trucks to get into that outside lane. And when I saw them coming fast, I had to make my move. Yeah, I heard on the radio, guys, they didn't like racing in single file. They wanted to make things happen. I can't blame them. You know, we're putting on a show here. This is an all-star race.
Right.
Let's give them a show.
Very good.
Well, a show we definitely did get up here in the booth, and I'm sure the folks watching here tonight got one as well. Greg, you bring it home in one piece. You finished 3rd place here tonight in the All-Star race. Congratulations on a job well done. Before we let you go, though, we're going to give you the opportunity to thank some sponsors and do some shout-outs.
Hey, I just want to thank everybody here at RTG. Everybody, all the admins, Cannon, Sean, Josh, Grant, everybody, John Godfrey, Sullins, everybody, man. We have a good year this year. Great racing. And I got to thank Roddy Sullins for painting all my trucks, all my cars. The guy's expert. He's great. Thank you guys up in the booth for calling it all year. Love listening to you guys. And I'll see you guys next season. Thank you.
Great All-Star race for Greg Palmer. 3rd place here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations once again, Greg.
Thanks, man. Thanks, guys.
Good job, Greg.
Thank you.
I'm not gonna lie, it still makes me laugh to know that this racetrack is called Burnt Screwdrivers.
And I just want to go on record. Dante mentioned about his Philly cheesesteak. It has smelled good all night in the booth, and he hasn't offered to share any with us. So I just want everyone to know that.
It's funny too because I have a Charlie's right down the street.
Well, you all missed out on a good dinner tonight.
I've never heard of Charlie's. So I'm gonna lobby for them to move up to New
One
York.
of my favorites, and the funny thing is, they close early sometimes, and they're going to lose their biggest customer if they can't stay open till 6 p.m. here
You
in
got to start a
Charleston.
petition.
So I've shown up with my news uniform. I don't tell them, and they get all scared. But I say, hey, look, just open up for a few more minutes.
There you go. Perfect strategy. I love it.
No, it's not abuse. It's just tell them, hey, you're losing a customer.
Exactly. You're not forcing their hand.
Right,
you know,
right.
you can't help it if your shirt has a logo on it.
Exactly.
Let's see if we can dial up the guy that brings it home 2nd place here tonight, Josh Metallic. Josh, Dante, Michael, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
I got you.
Oh, man, we saw you off turn 4. You were peeking up there on that outside, trying to get to that right rear quarter panel. Could you have gotten them if you had somebody there on your back bumper through the tri-oval?
You know, I wanted to make the move a lap earlier, but I think it was Bob Seminaro's behind me. Joe was in front, and I know they're good friends, teammates, and I just figured if I pull out, I'm going nowhere but backwards. So I gave it another lap to see what kind of moves would be made if it gets 3 wide, if another lane opens up, and nothing really ever came through. So I kind of peeked my nose out there just to see if anyone might jump up, but it went like I thought it would. But yeah, it was fun. Just didn't have enough of the pushers I knew would go with me behind me at the end.
Our big talking point tonight was about the difference of the driver mentality when it's an all-star race environment and no points on the line, whether it's in relation to what happens on the racetrack, what happens in the approach to pit road. But let's talk about pit strategy because we saw only one caution here tonight. Got to one to green, and you and a bunch of drivers dove onto pit road. I mean, what was the thought process in terms of future strategy with that call?
I was going to go an extra lap, but one by one, they all kept saying they're pitting, and my fear was there'd be two or three of us the next lap driving around, which is enough to lose the draft. You get 15 guys pit, and you have three guys pit. Those three guys that waited a lap, there's a good chance they'll come out and be out of the draft entirely. So coming out of four, I'm way up high. I'm like, crap, I'm going to pit. They're all pitting. And it actually worked. I kind of went right around all the chaos, and it was a late call. It was a kind of a risky move. I wouldn't try it on a normal race night, but it's for fun. It's for bragging rights, and it's just the win that matters. So I kind of made some questionable moves, questionable pushes, bump drafts, but it worked out.
Hey, Josh, it's Dante. You got me?
Loud and clear.
So, yeah, your track position was on point tonight. I don't think there was one moment where you were outside of the top 10 the entire race. And when it comes down to the pit strategy, like Seth mentioned, in last year's race, the smaller group of trucks pitted first, and the larger group pitted second and ran into the problem. This year, the larger group wins the race for the reason of numbers and also for better track position. So tell me, how much does having a good position near the top of the field the entire night play into your race strategy in making those decisions? Does it make it safer to come to pit road earlier, or does it make it more risky to come in later?
I usually prefer not being in the bigger of the groups that pit, just for the obvious reasons. I came in when they had the big wreck. I just took a really wide late entry and got around most of it. So I usually try to not pit with the bigger groups, but tonight wasn't a bigger field. So like I said, if I'd gone extra lap, I think two or three guys stayed out and that was it. And my concern was we're going to be 4 or 5 miles an hour slower for 2.66 miles. I'll be lucky to be in the draft. I don't know if Jeremy held on. I think the guys that pitted the next lap may have lost the draft or may have faded a little bit. So that was my reasoning. I was near mid pack. I was in the lead group, but it was tough to make progress. I mean, when guys like Grant and Joe and Bob are lined up nose to tail, you're just not going to make a lot of progress. Chuck, so you're just kind of pushing like crazy just to hold position, not really gain a whole lot. So pit stops were big, trying to make up some spots.
All righty.
We were talking about momentum as well here with this all-star race. Granted, there's no championship on the line, but certainly can give you some good mojo heading into the respective seasons of series that run regularly at Superspeedways, the RTR Superspeedway series, and of course the Tally Challenge. I mean, you had a great run to finish off season 58 of the Tally Challenge as well. So couple that together with this, I mean, got to be some pretty good feeling heading into season 59.
Yeah, I hope I'm not using all my luck up right now with the All-Star race and right after I got knocked out of the playoffs. But yeah, we'll have an off week next week and then back into the new season after that. And been running pretty strong lately. Hopefully it continues into the summer season.
Absolutely. Well, Josh Metallic, second place here tonight under the lights at BSR in this All-Star Race main event. Congratulations, Josh. Before we let you go, the floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yeah, thanks to Dave Cannon, Sean Prime for providing this. Every year they're here putting this on, and appreciate them for all that they do. You guys in the booth as well. We love these broadcasts. They're fun to go back and watch. And congrats to Joe, by the way, on the win. That's the only one that matters. There's 25 losers, whatever it was, and one winner, and he got it. So good job to him. And thanks to Tim and Wiley, my fellow admins on Thursday nights, and all the drivers that showed up. I've been doing this way too long, and if it wasn't a blast, I would definitely found another hobby by now. But this thing still rocks, and still enjoy it.
Well, Josh Metallic, a great run here tonight, second place in this All-Star race. congratulations once again. And yeah, looking forward to seeing if this momentum carries into the upcoming season. Best of luck.
Thank you.
And let's go down to Victory Lane, where the number 24 Chevy Silverado is parked, and see if we can dial up tonight's race winner. Hey, Joe, it's Michael, Dante, and Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got us?
Hey guys, I got you.
Well, coming into tonight, 4 victories at Superspeedways in the last 2 seasons, locking yourself into this All-Star Race main event. But with the victory here tonight, you're now locked into the next 2 All-Star races. But let's go back to that final 3 or so laps after the cycle of pit stops. We kind of dissected to that point on the back straightaway, that move around Grant Wesley, kind of the race-winning move there for you. At that point in time, did you think you had enough to hold them off? Because we saw 2 or 3 different lines being tried there from turn 4 back to the start finish line.
No, I didn't think I had enough. I was worried about Josh making a move on me. I was kind of playing the lanes, low and high, and kind of worked out that those, I think it was Greg and Grant, went low at the end there because it kind of forced Josh to not be able to make a move. But if it was going to stay single file, I was kind of worried there. Yeah.
Now, we've seen a lot drivers fighting for that middle line when we go to Talladega. We haven't quite seen that as much here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Tonight was the exception. We saw that classic 2 rows inside of those 2 sets of hash marks there in that middle line through 1 and 2 and then over in 3 and 4. Was tonight kind of experiment night with no points on the line to see if that works in preparation for points events, or was there basically a kind of devil may care attitude with it being an all-star race mentality?
Yeah, people were pushing harder, and it's easier to push harder in the middle lane, obviously. I mean, it's really the same track. It's just the lines are different. There's 3 lanes that are equal, and that allows the bottom lane to push up out of 2. It gives you more leeway to do that instead of having to lift or turn the wheel left harder. So it gives them more room to do that, and then that it kind of makes the 2 lanes more equal. And to counter that, there's ways to do that. It's just all visual. That's all it is. And if you try to race it like it is on the other track and try to take away those lines, you can race it like the other track. It's just it's all, like I said, it's all visual with the lines.
Hey, Joe, it's Dante. I just wanted to say congratulations, man. And also, tell me about the final lap of the race and that move that Greg Palmer made to the inside. What is the deciding factor there that makes you stay in the middle instead of change your lane to something else? Is it the part of the racetrack? Is it the numbers in the line? Going into a corner? Does that stuff make a difference when you're going to make that decision to move out, even with such a big separation between Josh behind you and then the third car back?
Yeah, you got to be looking at your F2. You got to be looking at who's behind you. I saw the 3 guys go low, and I know we had 4 in the middle, so I decided to stay middle. And you got to see who's in each lane. I know who's a better pusher than others, and that's it's all split second stuff. But you got to make it, and you got to communicate with your guys at the same time, and they'll let you know where the numbers are too. So it's all preparation before it happens, and then it happens, and you're kind of ready for it. And sometimes you're not. In that situation, I kind of was. I was communicating with my guys, and I kind of decided that I was going to stay right there.
Right, and now tonight was the night where we actually did qualifying pre-race to line up the field and get the positions. Are you a driver that prefers to have that qualifying set up back into the RTG Tally Challenge and the respective leagues instead of the Lotto, or do you like the randomness of the Lotto and the nuances that come with it?
I love qualifying. I've won 6 championships qualifying, and then the rules changed. So, I mean, hey, it is what it is. You got to mix it up. I know they want more people to lead, and they want to have more people have chances to win. But this was the first time me qualifying with the trucks and on this track, so I did struggle a little bit. I qualified 4th. I'm usually up there in the top 2 or 3, and but yeah, of course I prefer qualifying. Usually up there. sometimes you start in the back with the lotto. So yeah, it's much easier with the regular qualifying.
And I too am a person who wants to voice my support for qualifying. In
Yep.
addition, so very good.
Thanks. Yep.
A good time to be up front there late in this race. Joe, you pick up the victory here tonight, holding them all off in your rearview mirror. Congratulations. Before we let you go, you know the drill. The floor is yours for Victory Lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shoutouts.
Yes. I want to thank you guys, FRN. I want to thank RTG, of course. All-Star Race was fun tonight. A lot of hard pushing in all 3 lanes, bottom, middle, top. I want to thank Rodney and John. I believe they created this track. This track is very, very racy and competitive. Just because the visuals and the way it kind of balances out all 3 lanes there. Mobs Motors. I want to thank my sponsors as usual. St. Augustine, Florida, Old City Fly Shop. I thank my dad, Uncle T, LC, Dan, work buddies. I want to thank everybody watching on YouTube, and I want to thank Bob, Josh, and John Godfrey for pushing me at the end there, staying middle lane and getting me to that win. Yeah, buddy.
Joe DeSpirito, he is your season 58 RTG Superspeedway style all-star race winner here tonight at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations. Go and enjoy that win.
Yeah, buddy. Thank you.
Congrats, Joe. Congrats.
Thanks.
And with that, our coverage is about to come to a close. In the span of the 2 races that we had tonight, the open race and the all-star race, yes, we weren't without incident, but a caution only flew 1 time here tonight. It just kind of keeps up with the same Rolling Thunder Gaming thing where they race hard, but they race clean. Flagman didn't have much to do tonight.
Yeah, I mean, what we had was a race of intensity and pure talent. Mistakes were amplified. Any mistake in the pit road had an impact on the outcome of the race. It really showed when you have that green flag out that you have to be in the right position at the right time. And the interesting thing in the case of Joe, being at that move to the inside by the cars behind him on the final lap was so early, it kind of tied the hands of some people in that middle lane well behind, and Joe got very lucky that separation closed, and the folks that were in the middle really didn't have an opportunity or the time to go anywhere else, and that's how they ended up pulling back up to him.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see, based off of the fact that we know that this track is going to be appearing again on schedules upcoming in season 59, what drivers were able to learn here tonight in preparation for those respective series. Obviously, Joe DeSpirito locking himself into the next 2 all-star races, and boy, what an evening we had here tonight. A thrilling finish there in the open for that final transfer spot. And then here this evening, it came down to that final money stop with about 4 laps to go as to who was going to be taking the checkered flag and getting that all-star race trophy. Dante, Michael, I appreciate you guys joining me in the booth here tonight for this all-star race event. It's been a blast.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, Seth and Mike. I really appreciated the opportunity and having been through these all-star races to get my perspective as to what these drivers are going through and also their opportunities to be successful and really showcase each and every one of them. And I know there were a few people in the race tonight that I want to give a quick shout out to Bobby Farrell. He's one of my biggest Weather Dante Ricky fans, and I know he was up near the front at times, especially at the end of the race, and I really appreciate his support as well. And all the drivers follow me with my current career in meteorology and weather.
Absolutely. And want to give a thank you as well to Donnie Garrett, joined us up here in the broadcast booth earlier on tonight in our coverage of the All-Star Open. But that's going to do it here tonight. You guys heard there from Josh Metallic, an off week for these drivers next week, and then they're right back at it. We're going to have coverage of the start of season 59 for the RTG Talladega Challenge. That will be a week from this coming Thursday, 2 weeks from tonight, when we kick things off once again back at Talladega Superspeedway. But until then, for Michael Norman, Dante Ricky, Donnie Garrett, I'm Seth Cole. Enjoy the rest of your Thursday night, folks. You've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support.